Good morning, everybody. There we are. Now we're live. That's what's up. Hello. Good evening, good morning, welcome to the show. Here's the disclaimer. Don't get us in trouble. Everything we have, we have the right to use. And hi chat room, and hi everybody, and holy smokes, and what a morning, and what a week, and what an extraordinary set of circumstances. I think we can all agree. This is a historic week. Donald Trump enters the... Hello, good morning, how are you? The show will start in earnest in just one moment. Chicago was... the station was struck by lightning yesterday, which is always a good time. So, threw us for a little bit of a sonic loop this morning. So, I'm back to my regular scramble of trying to get... It's my breakfast scramble that I do when I'm doing this show. Without fail, there's always some way, is the audio okay? How about that? Is it... All right, where's your whistle? Excuse you. I think, I will say, before we get started, that the phrase whistleblower strikes me as funny, if only because what else is a whistle for? I mean, arguably, that's the purpose of a whistle. Someone who has a whistle they don't blow, that person deserves a label of their own. Unless there's only one whistle to go around and you're like, okay, you are the official, you're in charge of blowing the whistle on this situation. So we'll see. Good morning, everybody in the chat room. Hi, Pamela. Hey, Carl. Good to see you. Looking forward to dinner. Sounds like you're overmodulated. It's a little loud. Okay, good to know. Yeah. Hold on. I will try and see if I can internally bring the audio down. Input. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Hopefully not, because I don't know why it's so loud, but we'll see. Okay, on mine. As far as visually, sometimes... these digital meters, man, I don't know if I can trust them. So, good to see you guys. This week, can I say, hi, Julie. Look at that, everybody. Julie's back. Good to see you. She's not in, inner Dongolia visiting a nature preserve where only Dutch immigrants originally came from. Morning, Natalie. Yeah, the sound meter's a bit weird on that. Okay, so is the audio better, Carl? Hopefully. Good morning. We're gonna get started in just a... Yeah, well, we'll go to we got the full view. I just have to rearrange my cameras a little bit just because I'm in a hotel. I got shows this weekend, so I'm in San Diego right now. And cool, thank you. There we go. That'll be a little better. I just have to kind of rearrange everything because we had to the shuffle fun that we've been yeah, okay. So, oh, hold on, Johnny. And by the way, let's see. Johnny was going to connect with us, Chicago, and he just sent me a text. And let's see. Clean is then let's see. Hold on. I have an idea. I've got an idea, and I think I can figure it out. Because hold on.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Live exclusively for WCPT in Chicago, standing up and speaking out, here's Hal Sparks.
Well, what a week I chose to turn 50, where I hit what I think is a point in my life where I matured And I think we all, I don't know what that magic number is for everybody out there. Maybe it was when you're like, I'm 35, I really got to get this together. You know what? 40 is the big number. Maybe for some of you, it was, straight up 19. Like, you're out, like, or little housing your way at 18. You just, as soon as you're out the door, there you go. Or maybe you're like, you know what, I've been a kid long enough. 85, I should start maturing. I don't know what your number is. But for me, 50 is a pretty solid number. 5 has always been my lucky number. Some people know that. I don't know. But it was my mom's as well. I was born on the 25th of September, on my mom's 25th birthday. Like, there's a lot that goes with that. And so this week, I set up my goals for the year on my birthday. If you guys don't know about that plan, I put a little video about it on my YouTube page. But if you go infotainmentwars.com, and if you look at that, it basically came up with the idea is that since it's my new year, I'll do my New Year's resolutions on my birthday. So my birthday was Wednesday, and I turned it into a working holiday where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna knuckle down. Usually the day before, it's usually the 24th. I'll go through my goals for the year. I'll establish them, set them up, get them in order, and go, okay, for the next year, this is what I'm doing. This is the primary focus of my activities and my interests. I'm gonna accomplish these certain goals and those kind of things. And then Tuesday, whistleblower. Wednesday, impeachment is on a fast track. The world goes into a blender. Like all the while, there's almost never been a better circumstance to be sort of like tied to your computer, working on your setup for the next year, all the while knowing that, right over the edge of your computer screen on the television behind you, history is actually happening. Donald Trump is becoming the third president in our history to actually face impeachment. And let me be completely honest, folks, it's happening. Again, in my estimation, in my personal feelings about this, is that there is no point where Nancy Pelosi would have even announced full impeachment hearings if she did not, within conference, already have a belief that she had a majority of votes to actually not just open up the inquiry and people were comfortable with the idea of looking into impeachment, but that she had the votes for it. That literally, if they simply had held a vote, or they simply hold a vote at any time, they will have enough people saying, yeah, absolutely. Looking at this, it could not be clearer. His guilt is quite obvious. And so I think she's not even worried about the sort of, that's why I think they believe they can be speedy about this entire thing. It's going to be fascinating. They just went on recess, but the committees are staying in. There will be a coordinating group that will basically take all the stuff from all the committees that is impeachable, and they will pick, obviously the Ukraine thing will be a primary. Other people will want to go, we should also impeach him for these other things, which would take longer and will have require a deeper dive. But I said this as it happened, that everyone's victory lap, and I love you guys, everyone's victory lap that was happening when it finally announced that Nancy Pelosi is going ahead with impeachment, and that this Ukrainian stuff is even convincing some folks on the right to finally take a look at this dude. At what point none of the previous history had any impact on this occurring? Nothing. This is not the SDNY cases finding Trump's taxes and finally releasing them that caused this. This is not activists. This is not marches. This is not a factor of the Mueller report or the Mueller team or a new piece of information from that 2-year process that finally rose to the surface. This is the result of Donald Trump as a human being being a moron. Literally, this is just him being dumb. There is no one gets credit for this but Donald Trump. This man threw a rake in the yard and marched confidently towards it and stomped it. And the whack that hit him in the face had nothing to do with any of us. That's both the horrifying and the moment of this and the miracle. And welcome, Johnny Million. Good to have you joining
Hey.
us. Yeah, there you are. So they're on so many fronts. You know, this is a turning point. The sense of relief people were feeling, like, finally, you know. But again, if none of the other stuff had happened, if we didn't know about his obvious and egregious collusion with the Russians during his campaign, Mueller just said he couldn't charge him, not that he could prove either way that it was happening, and he wasn't even allowed to interview the people he would need to proceed. So the idea that no collusion, there was no collusion, that's garbage. Let's throw that right out the window. Beyond that, if none of that had ever happened, if Donald Trump wasn't a fake billionaire misusing taxpayer funds to keep his crappy, rat-infested, C-list kitchen, undocumented immigrant hiring golf courses afloat when they would be in, Chapter 11 by now, if it wasn't for state funds being spent putting the Secret Service up there at retail prices. All of that aside, all of it.
So maddening.
It is. All of that, just put that in a lockbox. To quote Al Gore, just put it in a lockbox. And understand that without it, calling Ukraine, when you basically, it was the day after the Mueller had testified and Trump felt emboldened by this. Yes, that's true. But it's also during a window of about a week when Trump found out that he was losing to every Democrat by at least 8 points and losing to Joe Biden by 15 and losing to him in places like Texas, that all of a sudden he's making phone calls to Ukraine, to the new leader there, and saying, hey, that $400 million in aid you need to keep the Russians from shooting your soldiers and claiming more of your country because they already have a piece of it, and I'm buddies with that guy, and I'm not even pushing him on getting out of Crimea. Let's forget that. The important thing, most of all, is that you've been hearing in the news how I'm buddy-buddy with the leader of the country that's trying to invade your country. And you know that $400 million that was supposed to arrive 3 weeks ago? Yeah, that's not showing up. Unless you do me a favor. Because I'm going to need a favor, though. That's the magic words. I'm going to need a favor, though.
Is that in the transcript?
That is in the transcript. That is the opening line of his connection, of his, when Zelensky says, we're ready to move forward, we need the U.S. help, we're ready to buy Javelin missiles, which is their anti-tank rockets that they need to stop Russian aggression. Like, without these things, small arm fire is not going to do it. They need these things. And he goes, we're ready to buy those. And they're hurting. This money was supposed to arrive weeks ago, right? They're in pain currently. They're behind the 8 ball. They've got an aggressor. The wolves are at the door. Some of them are already in the kitchen, and they've only got a few options to push back. And the United States has already, the Congress, the Senate has already said $400 million, no question. Send it. We support them. And what happens? He puts a hold on it. And while Rudy Giuliani and Bill Barr are talking, by the way, all memos aside about what was said in the phone call between Zelensky and Trump, the one phone call we're getting the the kind of sketch of what occurred, not a transcript. Don't call it a transcript. All of that aside, 8 other phone calls, and Rudy Giuliani is on Fox News telling him that he's been meeting with them since March, basically. This guy is saying we need these things. This money hasn't come yet, and we need these weapons. And Trump's response, the single most egregious and obvious line, which did not come from the whistleblower's report, although it was alluded to in every other, in every angle, from the White House memo, the sketch of the phone call, they even put that line in. They left that line in. That was said. According to the White House, he said, I'm going to need a favor, though. And that is extortion. Beyond treason and bribery, and the bribery one is really interesting because everybody's looking at it from a violation of the campaign finance. He's asking a foreign entity, which is all true, by the way, asking a foreign entity to help him in his campaign for free in exchange for using the levers of power in the U.S. government to keep them under a certain level of control. That bribery, just getting that, but without the, I'm not going to give you the javelins and turn the money loose. And by the way, he ended up turning the money loose not because he wanted to, because he had to. He had no choice. We got to take a break. There's so much to get into today. I don't want to. I'll run roughshod over every break we have. Johnny Million is with us on the YouTube feed. I don't know how well you can hear him on CPT, but the station was struck by lightning last night, so we're scrambling
again.
Yeah, I think the Russians have some sort of HARP mechanism. I'm going to go full infotainmentwars.com. We have the documents. We don't actually have any documents. That's Infotainment Wars. We have the sketches. We have the puppet show. We have the silly hat. We'll be back right after this. It's the Hal Sparks radio program, mega worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk, Infotainmentwars.com. Don't forget to become a Patreon, patreon.com/Hal Sparks. We'll be back. Oh, so it's Julie that's responsible for this. Last time she was there, it was struck by lightning, because you were just in town. Well, you were in the vicinity, anyways. And I agree, Carl. I think extortion is a high crime. It is an egregious felony. And extortion with the fear of violent reprisal or danger is even more concerning, if that makes sense. Because you have to look at it from the point of view of, like, you can extort somebody, like technically you could extort your kid. Like, all right, if you don't clean your room, you're not getting access to your to the Game Boy. That's the mildest form of extortion in the world. You're withholding something, and if the person's behavior doesn't acquiesce to your demands, they don't get access to something that would otherwise give them, pleasure, safety, whatever. So,
Hal, I just emailed you the Trump team's fundraising email. I get their emails.
Oh, you do?
I do.
Is it on impeachment? Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's an impeachment task force.
Oh, task force. Oh yeah, because Corey Lewandowski is going to be in charge.
Right, of the war room.
Here it is. Witch hunt.
Yeah, the subject is a witch hunt.
John, did you see the president's email? The transcript proves that the fake news got it wrong again. There was no quid pro quo. Squid pro row. There was no mention of Biden 8 times, and there was no evidence of wrongdoing. That's amazing. That's because even Kevin McCarthy, they were like, did he do something wrong? Yes. Question. Oh my God.
And you send that out to 33% of the people, and they're like, that's right, he did nothing wrong. to another president until he's a Democrat or a woman or
Right.
the wrong color.
Yeah. This should never happen to anyone but Biden or other. This should never happen to another Republican president again, and there should never be another Democrat president. So I think we got that. Are we clear on that? Oh my God, this is so fun. So we're back, I think. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. So,
Yes.
good Lord. All right, so Johnny Million forwards me an email. He's on the Trump campaign's email list, which immediately makes me suspect.
It was right at the beginning. There was somebody sent a link out on Twitter where you could go reply to a poll.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, I'll give you my email for that. And ever since then, every now and then on my spam filter, these pop up, but I don't have the heart to delete them before reading them because they're all just
They're
like,
super fun.
It's,
So this
yeah,
is
it's Fox News like IV. It's just right into the jugular.
Yeah, right. So it's this is how the letter goes. John, did you see the president's email? Like that is so internal corporate America fundraiser kind of talk. Like you might have missed our leader's email. You might have skipped. Yeah, John, did you skip right past the personal email you got from Donald John Trump to go straight to the campaign one? I don't know how'd you miss that? Never mind. Anyways, that's just nutty. So the transcript proves that the fake news, all caps, is wrong again in all caps. There was no quid pro quo. There was no mention of Biden 8 times, and there was no evidence of wrongdoing! Exclamation point. There has been no president in the history of our country who has been treated as badly as President Trump. If you don't count the ones that were shot to death in Dallas, or perhaps a theater, or died with shrapnel in themselves, or had to hide their disability the entire length of their presidency. Like, other than that, or accused of not being born in the country they were the president of for the entirety of their presidency.
Yep.
Other than that,
This is the worst.
I've never. So ridiculous. All right, the Democrats are so frozen with hatred and fear because they know they have lost the American people. By the way, like 78% of people are with the Dems on gun reform.
Everything he says is like Bizarro Opposite Day.
It's everything.
Everything he used to attack Hillary on is something that he was planning on doing or had already done.
Oh, we'll get into the server. Because,
Right?
oh my God. Like, that might be the second hour. Because the idea that this moron went after Hillary Clinton for a private server,
Yeah.
which apparently was so unhackable that even the Russians don't have those emails he was looking for. They were able to get into the DNC. They were able to get into the State Department. Colin Powell's emails came out from the State Department server. But somehow, Hillary Clinton put the entire country in danger because she had an unhackable personal server. Meanwhile, the president is using a code-level secure server to hide the contents of unclassified phone calls that will be politically damaging, to make the head explode. Okay, so here, continuing on this, they've underlined, by the way, the rest of this email, the rest of this part, or whatever. They're trying to silence you, that's all caps, and take away your vote, also in caps, by launching an impeachment inquiry into your president, in all caps.
How does that take away the vote?
Because they undo the election. That's what they're saying. They're trying to relitigate the last election. Now, again, the obvious logic being here is at some point, if you get voted in, let's just say, for the sake of argument, you won the Electoral College and the popular vote. You actually won the actual office by the vote of the people, and everyone decided that they were decide, they wanted you in the office. Everybody, like overwhelming, 80% of the public, like fake Putin and Saddam Hussein numbers get you into office.
Like Reagan versus Mondale numbers.
Yes, right. Like Reagan versus Bonzo numbers. If he'd run against the monkey in his actual movies, and well, that would have been a squeaker. I take it back. So, anyways, you trounce everyone. You win, you get in. Using the logic of the Trump campaign right now, if you committed a crime while in office, no matter how egregious, I don't know, like shooting someone in the middle of Fifth Avenue, for example, and the United States said, hey, the guy we voted for turns out didn't be, you're not that guy once you got in office, and we would rather you not be president, and that's a felony. And since we give regular citizens the death penalty for that nonsense, you can't be president anymore. We're going to impeach you, and because impeachment is not removable from office, and we're going to remove you from office. The Senate's going to vote about it. And the response from the Trump campaign would be, they are removing your vote. They are undoing the last election. That's what this is. Because, again, even if the Mueller report doesn't exist, even if he hadn't been a tax cheat his entire life, even if he wasn't a phony billionaire who faked being his own PR person and called in his own voice personally, the man has no friends, called in his own voice personally to Forbes to lie to get himself on the millionaire list, even if that didn't exist,
And then he can just go right to sleep at night.
Oh, he won't, though. I mean, and by the way, the idea that he only sleeps 4 hours a night is true, but only because apparently he takes giant naps in the afternoon, and that he's useless during certain windows now. And as the rats leave the sinking ship, you're going to get more little stories from all kinds of folks. But anyway, so we continue. They know that President Trump did nothing wrong. And I'm now reading this in the voice of like Janine Pirro. The president did nothing wrong. But this one's not only in all caps, it's also bold. They went from spotty in caps to all in caps, and from underlined to
the whole
bold.
email looks like, format-wise, it looks like the Drudge Report.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I'm sure that's where they lived through. Anyways, they want $45. It's the short end of it. Like they are campaigning on this idea. Now, the interesting thing is, they supposedly raised a bunch of money. And the Sixes says, I don't sound drunk enough to be Janine Pirro. Touche. And James is in the chat room is saying executive nap time. Yeah, there's apparently been these this period of the day. There were these stories about Reagan back in the day when, because he had pre-dementia before he left office, and it was very sad, and he was having to deal with this, and that's something that can happen to anybody. But they literally had a routine that if he couldn't do that routine, he would not be able to take meetings the rest of the day, because he would be scattered. It was like little habitual things he did in the morning that would kind of focus his mind, and if he didn't, he would just go off. And they knew this, and they had to manage it near the end. And it seems like we're entering into a phase where that's exactly what's happening with Trump. We gotta take a break. I'm over it again or whatever. When we come back, I want to play a little piece of audio for you, as if the audio today isn't harsh enough for everybody. That from the Washington Post has the audio of Trump's threat to the spies, things we used to do with spies. I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. The rest of it is just as troubling and goofy. The parts you haven't heard of that are amazing. We'll be back. Hey everybody, good morning chat room. How are you? Good to see you. How are you? Julie, I have heard the idea that they're the fake and illness situation. I that would be the reason for the 25th and why they would let him, be pitied and leave. But in reality, it's hard to say. I really think ultimately morning, can't stop lying. How are you? I just think his pride won't let him do it. He would actually have to have it, and people would have to have, would have to say it in him, and he would not understand what was being said for that to happen. It's going to be a really curious experience. So we'll see. But man, there's just no way he doesn't go out as just screaming and griping and yelling the whole way. And because I have to use the iPad to contact Chicago, I've got to find the clips I had on my phone because I'm high tech. Hello. Don't forget to support the show. Smash that like. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe. Go ahead. Do it. You know you want to do it. And by the way, I think we're going to have to grab the audio from YouTube to do this, but this will be the first show that will be part of the Sexy Liberal Podcast Network. The show's going to start carrying on there next week sometime, so we'll pick this up. I think they might do a test. They'll do a little piece of it. And so, hello, Chris Lavoie, because I think he's the one that's going to be cutting this together. All right, I need to, let's see. Don't do that. Stop it. Okay, yeah, so it's not in there. Now, I've got to search. Sign, yeah.
Coming to you guys at 60.
Excellent. Cool. I really do think this is like the straw that broke the camel's back in some ways. For like, nobody needed it on the left, but there's some Republicans where this in and of itself, by itself, is too far. And since they think they're staring down the barrel of a recession that's his fault, and they also know it's salvageable, that there's a very strong chance that they are going to, start just distancing themselves. It's already started, but yeah, there's a very strong reason to be wary of electing a president as old as.
We're back.
Cool. So, welcome back to the show. It's the House Parks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. We're here every weekend, 9 to 11 Central Time in Chicago, Pacific Time, 11 to 1 Central. I don't know what time it is or where I am. It's the part of being on tour. And by the way,
Where are you?
I'm in San Diego, which I can't translate what it actually means because I learned its meaning from Anchorman. But it's a really lovely place. I'm in. I think it's pronounced La Jolla, and I'm doing the Comedy Store this weekend. It's been a crazy 24 hours of driving back and forth to LA, and I literally last night I was gonna leave the show, drive 2.5 hours up to Chicago. Up to LA. I don't even know where I am. I drive up to LA and do the show from my house because I was like, at least I know that the setup will be the way I need for audio and all that stuff, and it might be worth it. I would have been exhausted. I would have gotten there at 3 o'clock in the morning and gotten up at 7 to start prepping and all this stuff. But I was like, you know what? It'll be worth it. And then I was like, you know what? That's insane. Everything will be fine. It's been working. And then I get up and this morning, and the station had been struck by lightning last night. It would have been better if I'd have had all my connections and other stuff. Oh, Lord. It's just, We're the little show that could. I feel very proud of us. But bless Rob for the ability to stream as cleanly as we are on the internet right now. Thank you, sir, once again. And thanks to all of our patrons who have worked so diligently to help us improve the quality of everything. It's one of the reasons why, like, today's stream actually is pretty flawless. Like, on our end, we're nailing it. So and thank you guys for showing up. If you're in the chat room, like and subscribe, give us a thumbs up. It helps the show out a lot. We're trying to hit that 10K mark. So if you're within the sound of my voice and you do any YouTubing at all, go to infotainmentwars.com, which is the link that will bring you to the YouTube channel, and just give us a subscription. Do the little notification bell if you want to. That's not crucial for me. You know, yeah, I'm sure you guys will tune in every weekend as you do. So as you know, as all this stuff is coming out, by the way, and it's hard not to get out over your skis in a good way this run, because literally, because of these hidden notes that were supposedly on this server, which again is a deep dive we could get into, and we will. Along with that, stuff is starting to come out that, you know, that Oval Office meeting he had with Lavrov and I think it was Kislyak.
Right after he fired Comey?
Yeah, where he's like, the guy was a nut job, the pressure's off, I'm totally good now, we can totally collude, nobody's looking, you know. Apparently, he told them it doesn't bother him that Russia did interfere. I mean, it went even beyond, like, I don't believe this story they were telling to you, like the useful idiot idea to being like a colluding idiot was effectively what he, I mean, he literally apparently, according to these reports, went, yeah, go ahead. I appreciate it. You know, I know you guys help me out because, you know, you believe I'm a winner. Like, only this dude could cheat and think he won fair and square. Like, I mean, it's I can't, yeah. So, this is a, you know, and by the way, chat room is obviously blowing up with a bunch of this. Let's see. Oh, and James likes the fact that you have disembodied, echoed Johnny Million voice because you're looping back through my mic because it's the only way I can hear you. It's hilarious. So I agree. It's got kind of a godlike quality. I think it adds something nice to the show. So
thank you.
So thank you. Fantastic. So and I have to search this one now. But so Trump had done this thing, or maybe I don't. Maybe I can just play it out of here. Let's just try something insane currently, because I already had this thing called up. So the Washington Post got a hold of the audio from this, you know, where he said, "It's almost a spy." You know, it's almost a spy. Like, folks, what we used to do to spies and traitors back in the day, you know, when we were smart. That basically. We used to kill spies. We used to shoot them or give them the electric chair, like the Rosenbergs. And we should go back to that. Now, I mean, I don't think I have to tell anybody within the sound of my voice this. These people are not spies. These people witnessed a crime and conveyed that criminal activity to someone that seemed concerned as they were about that criminal activity, who could do something about it. Without them jeopardizing their position. They were like, wow, I just saw a crime that goes against the interests of the United States, which directly goes against the oath I took to defend this country from all you know, foreign and domestic enemies. And here we have a domestic one, 18 feet over there. Dude, did you hear what he said? Here's my notes on the call. Look at this. By the way, they also match the notes that the White House put out about them. Nothing the whistleblower has said does not match up with the call that they put out. And literally, as they put out more of these calls, and you know, if there are even notes of the meeting, because Trump has this thing about destroying the notes, which is illegal, but somehow he gets a pass. So he goes out and he's giving this speech. And I don't know if this is going to start playing an ad right away, as they often do. Yeah. So, in the cross... Here you go. So he says the only you're going to be a star, and the only way you be a star is if you look good, is if you make good deals. So I know a thing about that. So already in congratulating someone else, he big ups himself, and then he says he's talking about, I guess, one of our ambassadors or one of the people who I'm not quite sure who he's referencing because it's so about him, but apparently her husband, whoever she is, her husband is rich, and that's a very important factor in this. But at one point, I just heard.
You know, they have a whistleblower.
They have a whistleblower.
He's a fake, highly partisan whistleblower. The lawyers contributed to Biden, they contributed, the whole thing is, but more importantly, you know what the whistleblower was? The same letter that we announced yesterday, which was perfect. I couldn't have written it better.
So yesterday, so he says there was a whistleblower came out. He was fake. He was a fake whistleblower. And what did he come out and say? Same letter we put out yesterday, which was perfect. He keeps using the word perfect for this call, and I swear to God, like, if you're a gangster and you're trying to extort something from somebody, and they go, "Hey, Jimmy, how'd the call go with the little fishmonger down there you've been running around?" Ah, perfect. We're getting the full 40%. Like, that's what the hell. Of course it's perfect from your perspective. You're manipulating this dude. Okay, so he thinks it's perfect. It confirms. He even says right then, it was perfect, and he goes, it couldn't have been written better if I wrote it myself. Meaning the notes from the call, if he had taken the notes directly, they wouldn't have been better. Mwah. They were right on the money. They included, by the way, the phrase, "I'm going to need a favor, though," right after a country under attack from Russia requested military aid and the release of funds that the U.S. Congress had already agreed to give them that the administration had been holding back illegally. Oh, my God. So in the process of this, he goes, so it was a fake whistleblower, partisan. His attorney worked for the Bidens, which I like. Are they actually wrong in their legal representation? Like, I understand you think of the world entirely in partisan terms, but you kind of have to be able to go, these guys work for the Bidens. They filed 2 legal briefs that got thrown out of court because this, and this, right? But they can't do that. You know why? Largely because, whoops, I think we got signed up from Chicago. We'll pop back in. But I think, ultimately, we're back in Chicago. Probably. There we go. Sorry about that. So his lawyers do that all the time. If you're going to go against a legal team, Trump's attacks, in his attempts to scuttle looks at his taxes, to defend against his ban of people coming from 7 largely Muslim countries, which is a violation of the law because you can't say someone can't come in because of national origin. You can delay their entry to make sure they go through enough scrutiny, but you can't stop them entirely. That's the difference between the Obama era policy and what Trump did. And they'll go, they did the same thing we did. No, they didn't. They delayed it while it took you a little longer to get in the country, but you weren't abjectly banned from coming in. Trump attempted to ban you outright. That's illegal, so they got thrown out. All of his lawyers have fact problems. His lawyers have incompetency issues, not the least of which are, oh my God, Rudy Giuliani, which is, and again, I get it, he's hilarious, it's embarrassing, he's a buffoon, but his whole job is to make viral videos and plant seeds of the whole Biden conspiracy thing as if they're real. And that's by the way, it worked. People have looked into the Biden, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden stuff as if it's new, hasn't already been adjudicated, wasn't BS in the first place. Even that tape that Trump is playing as part of his clip of Biden at the CFR talking to a crowd of people going, yeah, we're not going to give you aid unless you get rid of this guy. That was when the country was under the influence of Russia, and they had people in their government who were subverting the democracy and undermining the protections of the Ukrainian people on behalf of Vladimir Putin. These were agents of Vladimir Putin. And the Obama administration said, and 9 other countries, by the way. This is like the uranium one thing. They think like Hillary Clinton let Russia have all of our uranium. Like, well, 9 countries let them buy a stake in it, and 12 different departments had to look over it. But yeah, it's all Hillary, right? So the same thing with Biden. Like, Biden was the one that stopped everything. Like, yeah, every country in the NATO alliance was saying, you got to get rid of these guys because they're not prosecuting the corrupt people, and they're letting Putin's people within slide, and it's a slow-moving coup, and they're going to kill you. And we're not giving you aid because you're letting it go out of the country. And then Trump says that's illegal, but then argues that he just did exactly the same thing. Like, it's gibberish. So over the course of talking about the whistleblower, he goes, it's a fake whistleblower. That's my favorite thing. It's a fake whistleblower. Who, by the way, what he put out was exactly like the letter we just put out yesterday. Well, how can he be a fake whistleblower if he's saying exactly the same thing you said, dummy? Like, that's amazing to me. Secondly...
He talks that way all the time. It's maddening.
Yeah. Secondly, his big thing is, like, we need to get these spies, right? It was a very scary moment where he's saying we used to deal with, treason and spies, when we were smart, talking about basically killing these people. And understand, this guy has never met a dictator he doesn't like. He views Putin and Kim Jong-un as strong leaders. They murder people all the time. That's how they keep their power, is by snuffing out not just spies, but dissidents, newspaper reporters, and Trump loves these guys and hates every Democratic leader in the world. It is so his behavior, he envies this behavior, right? And then to come out and say, we used to get rid of these spies. Well, even just call them a spy, like, these people are spies. They're spies, folks. They're spies. Well, I got news for you. You can't leak a lie. If he's like, these people are leaking, they're spies. Like, you can't leak a lie. You can just lie to the press. But if they're leaking something, it's true. That is a tacit admission that what they're saying, what came out, is factually correct. That part he has yet to grasp. He has done this so many times. That level we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. It's the House Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT Radio, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Streaming at infotainmentwars.com or wherever you watch online. Johnny Million as the voice of God today, joining us in here. It's a good time.
Echo, echo,
Echo, echo.
Echo, how are you?
We'll be back. Oh, I see. My bad. Okay, so we're going to pop on Facebook and Twitch and all these other sources right now. Do a search alert, pop on there and go, hey, what's happening?
Oh, my cat thought I was calling her. Nice one.
Aw. Does your cat do the sneak up on you, put the claws in your leg, and slowly drag itself up into your lap while drawing blood from your thigh?
No, yeah, I heard you mention something like, like that Chud does.
That's Chud's MO. There's no question about it. It's incredible.
She does a really sweet soft paw greeting sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And chat room, by the way, I'm gonna get to some of what you're saying because it's totally on point. Let's see. Yeah. The Giuliani thing where he's showing his texts.
Back in 60, guys.
Thank you. Is also an extraordinary. I mean, him. I watching this dude short circuit is. I mean, it's good TV. But again, I think it's a way of disseminating the conspiracy theory and helping themselves by, he'll go on and say a bunch of dumb stuff and make an ass out of himself, but over the course of it, he'll plant seeds of conspiracy. I mean, the dude drops George Soros' name. You know what I mean? The Bear Jew. Like he immediately, I'm sure you've heard of the Bear Jew, George Soros. He's behind everything. Like, good Lord. What's happening, Michael? Good to see you. Did I miss something? Oh, I need to get my. Where are you? Come on, Chrome. Come on, man. This is.
We're back.
Welcome back to the show. So, I have my theories. I have, everybody in the chat room was like, you know how to fake whistle blow, don't you? You put your lips together and blow false accusations about everyone else. Trump's the fake whistleblower. I would argue that that's what Giuliani's job is right now, is to be a fake whistleblower. What you really need to look into is, I'm just a country lawyer from Brooklyn or wherever he's from. And thank you, Ginger. This is as this grows, by the way, you're seeing a bunch of these folks start throwing each other under the bus. Probably the most curious one was Giuliani holding up his phone on live television, saying, "It's all right here. I was going to Ukraine on behest of the State Department. Here's text from Kurt Volker. Here's they directed me there. If Mike Pompeo is having a problem with me, then he should question his State Department because they're the ones that sent me." Honestly,
Okay.
like, isn't that grounds for a subpoena of his phone right now? Honestly, that is a waiving of privilege. That was a waiving of privilege on live television by the president's personal attorney. So yeah. Oh, and James in our chat room was saying, I believe the guy Giuliani's emails were with resigned the next day.
Yeah.
Volker, yeah. Well, all these guys did. And again, look at the timeline of this is insane, because I love digging into, the sort of conspiracy theory of stuff, and anytime you're talking, whenever you get down there, you're talking about the ladder underneath the Denver airport that takes you into the nuclear vault where they're going to hide because they know an asteroid's coming that they actually attracted using CO2 emissions. Whenever you hear conspiracy theories and they really get legs underneath them, it usually involves a timeline of events. That's where they start getting a little bit of credence, right? That's when, either real or imagined, there's definitely a point where people are going, okay. It is interesting, though, that the day after this guy showed up at the house with a shovel and some bloody clothes he needed to burn. I mean, I'm not saying I know for a fact that he was, he disposed of the body, but and that's curious. And then you go, he also is the only guy who knew where it was and joked about it at a bar 2 days later in the middle of a trivia game. And then everybody, he screamed out the location of the body as the answer. And then went, I'm sorry, was I talking out loud?
It's like that Chris Rock bit about OJ.
Yeah, that's right. And there's, and by the way.
I'm not saying he did it.
I understand. Yeah, well, it's also, Trump is very much in danger, ironically, of OJing himself, in theory, getting away with murder, and then through hubris forgetting that the other stuff you're doing is technically a crime. Going, what?
Right.
I can go into a hotel room with a bunch of guys with guns and hold them up to get some stuff I think is mine. I can brandish guns.
Yeah, or you could,
And keep
call
people
the
from leaving,
police
which is
because
kidnapping.
somebody stole your things.
Yeah. So, January of this year, Giuliani meets with Yuri Lutsenko in New York, right? The then Ukrainian prosecutor. Mid-February, he meets with Lutsenko in Warsaw. Okay, I know Rudy Giuliani has a security firm, and I know a lot of these dudes operate in some fairly sketchy circles. But the world is a giant place. There are a lot of countries we have security arrangements with. There are a lot of countries that we have, ongoing diplomatic outreach with that are, that are in a constant state of either war or danger or security concerns, or that we have oil interests in, or there's of the 192 countries we are directly, we have ambassadors for, or some nonsense. I think it's over in that number. It's always these countries. Anywhere the Trump folks are found, it's siding with Russia against somebody and letting that somebody know it. Now there's some footsie with China, and there's some footsie with Saudi Arabia, and that's a constant concern as well, especially when China's issues both with the Uyghurs and their economic issues and our tariff war with them and the intellectual property. It's a Gordian knot, and it's very big and has to be dealt with by stable means. But Saudi Arabia is a mess right now. We unpacked last week a lot about that, because they're going to be cash broke next year. We got to take a break for the news right now. We'll be back right after this, and then we're going to go into the timeline that makes this look like, on all fronts, a coordinated effort by the U.S. president to extort a foreign country, an ally, against one of the worst anti-democratic acting countries in the world, in the form of Russia. We'll be back. So, yeah, wait, okay. I have to say the names in the Ukrainian scandal are amazing. Oh, good Lord. That was amazing.
Thank you. I only do that because we're on commercial.
Yeah, I appreciate you saving it up. So, were you playing guitar in the background a little at one point?
It was. I was like, oh, wait. I bet he can hear that.
Yeah. No, somebody also, I thought I heard it, and I was like, wait a second. And then the prof said the same thing. He's like, I thought Johnny was playing guitar in the...
I was.
It was. Oh, it's nice. I don't mind. One of the coolest things about doing the... hey, Marmel, what's happening, brother? Hello. One of the craziest things about the club down here in San Diego is they have this dude, I think they call him Joe the Bear. I literally walked up on stage. He plays music on the left side of the stage. He's got a guitar. He looks like he should be in Willie Nelson's band, like silver hair, silver beard, total beach dude, got a keyboard. And he'll sort of, I guess score your act as it goes along if you want.
Oh,
and I don't think
really?
Yeah, and he plays before the show, and then afterward he plays like on and off personal music, which is cool. But the funny part is that I don't think anybody asks him to do it ever. So last night I was like, hey man, anytime you want to play along, we'll just use it. Just go for it, And
you'll riff with it.
Yeah, and then and I think he started playing the Green Acres theme right out of the hat, and I was like, okay, I take it back. I don't know what you're doing. It was lovely. He's a good dude.
He did that just so you would tell him to stop.
No.
No?
I thought you would do that just to get me to stop.
Yeah. If he
That's
told me,
exactly
"Play
what
along,
you would.
we'll have fun."
No,
I'd
it
be,
was
like,
pure.
pretending to
It was
tune the whole
natural
time.
comedy straight from the Mountain Spring. It just came right out of the mountain that way. It was not
That is awesome.
unfiltered accidental comedy. Because he was like, cool, okay. Clink, clink. I'm like, what happened? Stop that.
Not
So
that.
funny. People are, let's see. Trying to look at the. Are you in the chat room by any chance, Johnny, in any format?
No, actually, before we connected, I kind of turned it off in a hurry when I could hear you through my headphones and the clean feed.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yes, I did. That was Jesse the Body Ventura that I threw up before. He's just my go-to conspiracy voice. You know what I mean?
Now, that's why I live down here in Baja, because it's the one area on the Earth's surface where HARP
I
can't
knew
reach.
exactly what you were doing.
Huh?
I knew exactly what you were doing.
Thank
Your
you.
Jesse is right on.
It's pretty good. I've been tuning my up, in my bits up. So this is Suzanne in the Philippines. Good to see you. Can't stop lying. Oh, that's good. I'm trying. Like, there's so much so much rolled by in the chat room that I'm trying to like catch up with kind of what's going on here. Yeah, the funny thing is that I think the taxes, which a lot of people viewed as like the first thing that you would want from him, like, okay, can't you see he is obviously lying about his wealth and his success? He is obviously a tax cheat on multiple levels.
Yeah.
He's everything he says about his charity giving is a lie. He funnels money from him.
What about any of that stuff?
No.
What about Obama? No. He is like
Right.
a mob boss level tax.
Exactly.
Diet.
But a lot of people thought that would be the primary kicker. That would, like, if people see that, then that will jumpstart impeachment and the other stuff. They'll get that, the emperor has no clothes, and he looks awful. And so we know that, if people see this, they'll finally, go, okay, maybe my vote for him was a mistake. But I think the opposite is true. I think the inverse is true, rather, is that this Ukrainian scandal is so obvious to so many people that what the taxes and all that stuff coming out, say if you release those around January, February would do, if you can finally get them in a way, because apparently, according to Tom Arnold, thank you, according to Tom Arnold, who I ran into last week, a lot of the newspapers have 8 years of his taxes already, but they're going through the legal fight right now of whether they can release them.
That's probably close to true.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine that stuff hasn't leaked.
Let's see. Don't worry about it, can't stop lying. You're all good. We see you. Thank you. Hope all's well. God is angry. Thank you, Les. My birthday was Wednesday, so some people still wish him happy. Oh, the Monica Zelensky thing was very funny. In Ukraine, they're calling Trump Monica Zelensky. That's their scandal where they are. So that's pretty hilarious. All right, I got to get back down to the bottom of the channel.
You're listening to the Hal Sparks radio program, Mega Worldwide.
I've had people walk out of me before, but not when I was being so charming.
Video streaming at halsparks.com.
I don't care for you or for the pubic sludge you're troweling out.
Plus Facebook, Pipstick.
True progressive talk.
Might be a good time for you guys to give up.
So just on the YouTube channel alone, we got almost 300 people watching. So give us a thumbs up, give us a like. I appreciate Can't Stop Lying for reminding everybody about that. It really helps us out, helps the channel's visibility. It helps us reach our goal of getting subscribers and all that kind of stuff. We got people from all kinds of, we got people on Facebook, people on Twitch, hi, people on Periscope who are watching. They can throw little hearts in. I think I can actually see them in the when that goes. But so I appreciate you all being here, and I appreciate you sticking around. We'll do a little bit of a post show today as well. Johnny Million is joining us as the voice of God. because of thank you, because of audio looping that occurs. I kind of like it. It gives a kind of morning zoo feel. Like we've sent Johnny out to the street to hand people a polo mallet.
Hey, what do you think? Did OJ do it? Huh?
Right,
Huh?
right. The dumb intern role. You just get to run out. I think I'm out here. Right. Like the guy I almost killed with a nacho cannon in Philadelphia years ago. So, look it up. So, just look up Hal Sparks' nacho cannon. One of the most frightening moments of my life. All right, so May 6th, State Department announces Ambassador to Ukraine is now Masha Yovanovitch. A career diplomat would end her assignment in Kiev. Democratic lawmakers immediately call the decision politically motivated, so they get rid of the diplomat that knows the place and looking to replace basically who's in there with someone Putin would like. May 9th, New York Times reports Giuliani plans to travel to Ukraine to press government to investigate interference in the 2016 election and the Biden family. May of this year, this guy is going to Ukraine, and the idea, think about this, Ukraine is the problem. Poor John McCain. I mean, it's bad enough that Lindsay has turned on him and seeks to defecate upon his gravesite at every turn. But the idea that Giuliani's mission since early this year, since January, since they really have basically entered into the election cycle in earnest, send Giuliani as an emissary of the U. I mean, it's bad enough that we have the fact that Lewandowski, who by the way is now heading up the anti-impeachment effort, so it'll be a Swiss watch. Wow. What's your strategy, Corey, for dealing with these people? I think I'll grab him by the elbow and yank him. All right, sure.
Hal, you almost killed this guy.
Huh?
With a nacho cannon.
Oh, you're watching that now? That's for later.
Wait, but no, I mean, the guy, he took it right in the chest.
I know, it was a cold morning. Don't get me started. It's terrible. He lived. He's fine.
Yeah, he's smiling now.
Scared the crap out of me. All right. So quit watching nacho cannon videos. Like, you're distracting everyone. You can't just yell that out in the middle of the show. Now everyone has taken a complete left turn into this. Preston and Steve are lovely people, though. I just want to say. All right, so... and then May 14th, published interview with a Ukrainian journalist. Giuliani says Yovanovitch had been removed because she had been working against Trump. Why? This is Ukraine, for crying out loud. Our envoy to Ukraine is working against Trump. How? What is she doing that is working in a country we are an ally with? I mean, okay. Around May 14th, Trump instructs Vice President Mike Pence to cancel plans to attend Zelensky's inauguration. Instead, Rick Perry goes. So this is when they start putting the fear of God into Zelensky. You don't get a state visit by the president or the vice president, which lets Russia know and our other allies that we're not backing you full-throated. Now that you go in there, you're not, the energy secretary is going to go. And by the way, why does Russia want Ukraine? What do they want Ukraine for? Do you think there's something about Ukrainian people's culinary skills that Russia wants to fold back into the old Soviet Union, group of territories? No, it's its use as a pipeline, literally, just to get Russian oil to the Black Sea. Control of those territories. That's a major aspect of why they want Ukraine. And who do they send? The energy secretary.
Yeah.
All right, mid-May. The whistleblower hears from multiple officials that Kurt Volker, the U.S. Special Representative to Ukraine, and Gordon Sondland, the U.S. Ambassador to the European Union, had spoken with Giuliani to try and, quote, contain the damage from his efforts, which technically speaking is true of anyone who speaks to Rudy Giuliani. Like, everyone in every conversation they have with Rudy Giuliani is trying to contain the damage from what is coming out of Rudy Giuliani's mouth. I mean, just look at him on. If Laura Ingraham is trying to slow your roll and keep you from stepping in it, I mean, Google Laura Ingraham Zieg Heil. You know what I mean? Like, this is not the person that's your moral brake pedal, right? All right. Everyone is trying to contain the damage from this. Okay, May 20th, Zelensky's inaugurated.
So Laura Ingraham, Nacho Cannon.
Quit it. So, June 21st, Giuliani complains in a tweet that Zelensky, quote, still silent on investigation of Ukrainian interference in 2016 and alleged Biden bribery of Poroshenko. Okay, so let's be abundantly clear. Been vetted both by our own country and theirs. Not a real thing. A fantasy. This is them disassembling. They are muddying the waters, and the entire goal of Vladimir Putin is to make it look like all democracies are worthless. There is no good in the world. Everything is shades of bad, and you should just shrug it off and live with it. And if we can make it look like everybody is engaged in these behaviors, even when they're not, you just use the same verbiage to describe someone else's behavior that can be used to describe your behavior, that will give you clearance, to continue to do it. Secondly, this is all during the process where Giuliani, William Barr, and the president are engaged in bribing and extorting the leader of an allied country against a country that the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the DNI, every three-letter acronym in the intelligence world and our own law enforcement says is not only hacked into our elections materially and try to manipulate them through social media means, but is continuing to do it now. Everybody that Trump, even in his own cabinet, that are still that will follow by the letter what he wants them to say, still when they sit down cannot not say that that the Russians are not only did this, but they are continuing to do this. You know what they're also doing in parallel while they're attacking our elections, while they're attacking our democracy and every other democracy in Europe? By the way, Brexit has Russia written all over it. The rise of white supremacy and anti-Semitic groups in Germany, Russia's fingerprints all over it. As a matter of fact, the reason that a lot of GOP, and this may sound harsh, but it's true. The reason why so many Republicans are favorable to Russia, ultimately, is they see it as the perfect white ethno-state. There are no brown people to speak of. The ones that are there, if they act up, are disposed of immediately, and no pride marches. Like that in and of itself. Never mind that the state can murder you at any point they want, and they could also give you forced abortions and stuff. But that's and there are no gun rights because they'll pretend, because if you're willing to pay the NRA to take free trips to Russia to pretend they have gun rights over there, and they fund their nonsense over here, they'll look the other way and have no criticisms of Russia. So But the GOP themselves looks with envy upon the structure of Russia as a country currently. And Trump himself and all of his friends look at the oligarchy and the kleptocracy in Russia and salivate. They are jealous of that circumstance. They wish they could run this country that way, and they are making every attempt to do so. So, and again, Giuliani's making the case that Ukraine interfered in our election. Ukraine. Not Russia. Not Russia, which everybody except Giuliani and Trump say, yes, obviously, they not only attacked our elections, they still... And by the way, they absolutely hacked into voter rolls. attempted to manipulate votes, eliminated people from the voter rolls, changed like all these people who were like, I had to do a provisional ballot because my address was off by 1 digit and blah blah blah, and people think, well, that has to do with that is exactly the kind of manipulation you do as a Russian hacker. You don't do overt stuff. You do subversive and covert stuff, minor things. You want chaos. You want people not to trust the process, because finding out that someone hacked the process, changed it, and you were able to fix it is a verification that the process itself works. Making a mess of it is the goal. So, but Ukraine's the problem, sure. We got to take a break. And after we're going to talk about how it was July 25th. This takes us to July 25th. When Trump had a phone call with Zelensky and tells him, you're going to talk to William Barr and you're going to talk to Rudy Giuliani and about the investigation I want you to do. You're going to help me out because I'm going to need a favor from you, though. We'll be back. I'm just stunned that, like,
that I would look up the nacho cannon?
No, not at all. That's not surprising at all. That's super obvious.
Oh, but he went down like a sack of potatoes.
Oh, man. Well, here's the thing. They had been planning this thing. Thank you, Martinez from Durango, Colorado, for the happy birthday. I appreciate that. They were planning this all morning, and it was very cold that morning. And they had prepped the whole thing, and they were basically like, all right, in block 5, we're going to be coming to, whoops, when did that happen? How did you do that? In the next hour, we're gonna be shooting him with he loves nachos so much, we're gonna shoot him with it. And it was one of those things like leading up to it the whole time.
Oh yeah.
Well, they had loaded it to kind of tease it, but it was freezing. And it was really cold. So what had happened, I have to fix my graphic, which I accidentally, I don't even know how you strip that away. That's so funny. That it basically solidified all this stuff. It had made it,
like literally
rock hard.
It.
Yeah. It had congealed it, turned it into one mass.
Back in 60.
Thank you. And it came out. It could have killed him.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, it was like worse than those rubber bullets.
Yeah. And to go out that way, I mean, I
At least
feel
it would
like
have been on video. I died on YouTube.
Yeah, right.
So Hal, what do you say next time you're in Chicago for the live stream? You shoot me with a nacho cannon.
I love that idea. Yeah,
boy, oh
but
boy.
I'm going to use one of those handheld water guns, and it's going to be immediate. It's just going to be dip. I'm just going to where you suck it up into it, and just it'll be a spray. I am not loading a full-size cannon full of nachos and beans. Because that was the part that got him. The cheese held the bean pack together. It was like wadding. It was such a terrible story.
We're back.
Okay, welcome back to the show. So timeline-wise, we've gotten up to the point where, obviously, this whole time, Giuliani has been making these trips to talk to the prosecutor that was in office before, the one who was corrupt and got out. They are defending him. The woman who was like, yeah, this guy's a crook. Trump's saying she's against me and she's got to go because she's pointing out that the last guy was a criminal and we like that criminal. We don't want somebody to come in and clean up this corruption. We're benefiting from the corruption because this is what Russia wants, right? So, needless to say, when Trump says on the July 25th phone call, he mentioned he brought up Giuliani and first. He said it, I didn't. Well, the reason he said it was because they've been meeting with him for months. Just letting you know, oh, yeah, I've been talking to your people. It's cool. We'll play ball. We have to. I don't have much of a choice. I know this. So, that as a defense is one of the most pathetic parts of the whole thing. Honestly. So, Volker and Sondland meet with Zelensky and other Ukrainian political figures on the 26th, the day after this call. Reportedly provide advice to the Ukrainian leadership about how to navigate, quote, the demands of the president, the demands he had made, according to the whistleblower report. So basically, Rudy and William Barr, Rudy's been talking to him all this time. You're going to talk to William Barr. He's one of my boys. You're going to talk to him, and he's going to tell you exactly how to do what I need you to do. And from that, the next day, Volker shows up. Hey, how you doing? I'm the guy who sent Giuliani. Here's what you're going to need to do. In person. So, he knows it's serious. On August 2nd, on around this date, Giuliani travels to Madrid to meet with Zelensky advisor Andrei Yermak, which the whistleblower said was a direct follow-up of the July 25th Trump-Zelensky phone call. So this is the whole, you're going to get in contact. Now, he is not a State Department employee who has taken an oath to protect the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. This is not an official capacity. This is, much like Corey Lewandowski being sent over with a speech that Jeff Sessions is supposed to give before he quits, before he's fired by a non-government employee on behalf of the president in secret, because he knows if he fires Jeff Sessions, it will be obvious that he is engaging in a criminal activity. So maybe if I just have somebody outside the government do it, it sounds like a suggestion that if you don't follow through with, you will. Yeah. So okay. So then August 8th, Giuliani tells Fox News that the U.S. Attorney John Durham was investigating Ukraine. Durham had been named by Attorney General William Barr as part of a probe into the origins of the investigation of the Russian election meddling and connections to the Trump campaign. August 12th, the whistleblower delivers his complaint to the chairman of the Intelligence Committees of the Senate and House Representatives. September 18th, the Washington Post publishes the first public account of the whistleblower complaint. September 25th, my birthday, Justice Department releases the summary of the Trump-Zelensky call. Trump and Zelensky meet in person for the first time at the UN gathering in New York same day. 26th House Intelligence Committee releases unclassified version of the whistleblower complaint. This has been a quickening. The entire time, these folks, and ultimately, I gotta say, I'm not really worried about how the Biden attacks will play out, because honestly, there's so little to it. It didn't take much. It took like 2 details to start, Pizzagate, to the point where a guy showed up at a pizza parlor in Washington, D.C. with a gun and fired it. And that's based on the idea that there's tunnels under there and that they're eating children and having blood sacrifices.
Yep.
That was enough. So there's a lot that's scary about this. And by the way, the New York Times outing the whistleblower, basically, giving details on them, any details at all, puts their life in danger, and the hell with the New York Times. I'm just saying, if you're going to subscribe to something, recommend the Washington Post. But as we go into this next couple of weeks, obviously the political fight will begin in earnest. But there is a very distinct shift that is happening across the board. Julie in our chat room is bringing up, she says, it bothers me that Rudy Giuliani has no need to know, and he obviously is getting classified information from Trump. No question. He's getting classified stuff from the State Department, in talking with Volker. I mean, and again, he's not a government employee. Therefore, we, as the citizenry, have no recourse about his behavior. That in and of, and by the way, remember all the stuff about like Obama having czars, which were cabinet officials, which by the way you could handle by saying these are vetted people. They have to pass, Senate confirmation, and these folks are in charge of these projects, but they're government employees. They take an oath. They've got a job in the White House. They're not, sideline advisors that, walk around kind of making up whatever rules they want. They're not mercenaries. Effectively, that's what this is. This is Trump using Giuliani as effectively a legal mercenary. I'm just going to hire you to do the job that I know if I do it through normal channels is illegal. And tell you what, you and I, because you're my personal attorney, we can meet in private and I don't have to tell anybody what we said. And then you can go over there and you can have a meeting with this leader and I can let them know that I've got a hold of the purse strings, and I can certainly turn a blind eye, and not give them information if Russia is planning something, which we've been, doing for a while. I can put you in danger if you talk about this meeting on your end. And I know my attorney's not going to, well, he's obviously going to go on Fox News and talk out of his backside nonstop. But in theory, he's not going to tell any of the details that we want to get rid of. Like this, and I think the reason this is a turning point, the reason why this matters, the reason why everyone can, it's just easily digestible. There's a timeline that's easy to follow. The Congress approved aid. Trump put a hold on that aid. Trump, in the call about releasing that aid, said, I'm going to need a favor from you, though. The favor is look into my main political rival as I go into an election year. And then next, my attorney and the AG of the country, who, by the way, has been acting as my personal attorney, they're going to contact you. They'll give you more details later when we're not on a secure line, when there aren't so many note takers around. I mean, that's what this is.
Yeah.
And then, everybody gets on, shifts back for basically paraphrasing, using actual phrases from what Trump said, but paraphrasing what he's saying. And it's easy to explain when you talk, in terms like that. But even if you don't, the Congress approved the aid. Trump himself said, and by the way, the same Trump that wanted to remove our special protection for Ukraine from the RNC's platform, the only change that Trump, through Manafort, wanted to make in the RNC platform was to pants Ukraine in front of Russia. That's the only, you help make Putin rich by getting him that control of that territory so he can run his pipelines and basically have command of all the oil in Europe without any of that money going anywhere but his pocket. So he can, by the way, siphon it out of country at the expense of the Russian people. I just don't know how, that's the only change they wanted to make. And it is directly in line with this. Again, erase the Mueller investigation, which did show collusion, which did show obstruction of justice. Just didn't charge him because William Barr, the new president's consigliere, part 2, wouldn't allow him to charge, told him, instructed him, said, no, I don't, it is not the belief of this AG and this current office that you can indict or charge a president. And if you charge him, he has no legal defense. He can't defend against it, and therefore that charge will sit out there and create a situation where if he's charged, if you go, he should be charged once he's out of office. This is the Mueller belief. Should be charged as soon as he leaves office. And
Barr's statement to him was effectively like, you can't say he deserves to be charged though, because the charge will hang over his head, and then it's impossible to get a jury that hasn't heard that he's guilty for years. You can't charge somebody, it's a violation of his right to a speedy trial, effectively, which is materially true. What isn't materially true is that the president can't be charged. We got to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
And I'll be right back.
Mm-hmm. So, hi, everybody. I'm going to try and open this other chat and see what's going on with you guys. Yeah. Hello. Hello, how are you? We are interrupting this feed temporarily to say hello. Hello. What's happening? Oop, there you go. Hi, what are you wearing? There you go. What's happening? Yes, thank you. This is clearly true, Amy. I mean, the words mean nothing except for their usefulness. Yeah. So. Criminals don't confess? Sure they do. They confess all the time. Matter of fact, most people confess. I mean, obviously, it's kind of like the whole thing about like most people die of a heart attack, but while they have pneumonia and cancer and all that kind of stuff. So you could say like it was caused, but that's cardiac failure is the final step. That's what actually makes them dead. But what really killed them was the weakness that led up to it. But if you look at what they mark off, it was the heart attack that killed them. So heart attack numbers are that much higher because of that. The same thing is true of confession. That obviously the interrogation, the gathering of evidence, the confrontation of that evidence, then people, yeah. Yes, and this is true, Kathy. Stupid criminals confess all the time. As my uncle used to say, bank robbers are dumb. Anytime bank robbers get caught anywhere, they screw up hard. Hey, Salvador, good to see you. Excellent, Taz. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Oh, well, thanks, Magarza. Of course. Been a while. How are you? Amos, I did, and thank you for the coffee. I appreciate it. I had a little stream on Wednesday, and we're going to have another kind of follow-up this week, because I wanted a week to get my whole, like, how I present my whole goal thing to just the patrons, so, and kind of give you guys the rundown of what I'm planning for the year, and, what part you guys play or what part you can enjoy, all that stuff. So, so thank you, absolutely, and I appreciate the beverage is plural. Bank robbers have more organization than these numbnuts. I have to say, they at least seem to plan it out. You know what it is? Everybody in the White House is the last guy on the team. We lost our regular driver, but this guy's good, and he's like sketchy and yeah.
We're back.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Hal Sparks. You're listening to the Hal Sparks Radio program, Mega Worldwide on WCPT. WCPT820.com is the website, and please support the station any way you can. And all throughout the week, your favorite progressive and liberal talkers are after us. You have Dick Kay. Before us, you have Doris Davenport. Perfect for your local political needs. And throughout the week, some of your favorite talkers, including Stephanie Miller, where I was on last Wednesday for my birthday, which was lovely. Got to spend my birthday hump day with the old sexy liberal gang, which is great. And the show is now going to be carried on a truncated version. I guess they're going to edit some of the nonsense out, so that it'll probably be maybe that's the first 5 seconds. That they're going to carry that on there, and so if you're listening for the first time, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the show. And also, Jackie Schechtner and I are going to be launching a quite wonky podcast in the near future, where we actually deep dive into the material bills that are being presented and kind of how the ramifications of legislation and how important it is to pay attention to the details is sort of overlooked in our modern society, and also that we shy away from complexity. For some reason, people get hostile to the idea, if it's complex. Well, when you have a country of this many freedoms and this many people, complexity is necessary. You have to thread the needle finer than ever. You have to give people their freedoms and maintain their rights and freedoms while not infringing on other people's rights and freedoms. And that's really hard to do. Democracy is difficult. And so doing it right and paying attention.
Dictatorships are easy.
Oh man, they are. I mean, even that's what George said, Old Bush, it'd be a lot easier if I was a dictator,
Yeah, it would.
He wasn't kidding. Remember how freaked out everybody got when he said that? That is the hack joke of the Trump administration. That's always what he goes to. But he's not joking.
Nope.
Yeah. And Salvador in the Salvador in the chat room is saying, how do you feel with the 50s, the 50th birthday? Because I turned 50 on Wednesday. I feel good. I feel good. Yeah. I mean, right. I knew that I would now. So Rudy Giuliani will continue to make news through this whole process. There's no question.
Sure.
The thing that I think most people need to recognize is that, again, that's the goal. His purpose is to muddy the waters with conspiracy theories. Right. That's all. That's the purpose. And if you're going to play those clips, if you're going to retweet stuff, the only thing I ask is that you, in your 240 characters, the extra characters you need, let people know you know and let them know you know. That this is all so he can plant these little ideological IEDs along the roadside.
Yep. Just smoke.
This is a big show. Whether he's aware, I mean, all he has to do is know that he has 3 talking points he has to go to. Everything else he has to is just set Rudy loose to be a nut, and that will do it. So be aware, know that you're being played, recognize that this is it will be an ongoing part of this, and it will be shored up by trolls everywhere. The other thing I would also say is do not, whatever you do, when you see the trolling that's going on, when you use hashtags, and this is hashtags have been wonderful for kind of lining up larger arguments, larger conversations, right? I use them all the time. I think they're very functional. It's really, as the social media goes, it's very useful for getting into an issue and seeing what's trending and saying, okay, I'm going to get into this conversation, especially when it's around hearings, which there will be a lot of, or debates. Understand this. The troll farms are tasked currently with the job of misspelling or misappropriating or changing the hashtags to water them down. So the interest level looks lower than it actually is. And to divide the conversation into packets away from each other. So when you are doing this and you're kind of in a fever pitch and you're in the conversation, and I've had this happen to me a couple of times and I'm way more aware of it now. Don't just click on the, when you're typing in your hashtag, it will give you suggestions. several of the suggestions will be misspelled or slightly different than the main one that's trending. The easier thing is go to the thread that you're in, click on the one that's in the thread, and tweet from that page. Yeah, tweet from that thread from the inside.
It's hard enough to tweet at Cat Saturday.
That's but if you had like Russian hackers, spelling cat with a K, or putting an N in Saturday and making it Saturn Day, and you're typing so fast you don't know, and your whole comment goes off into a cul-de-sac. And psychologically, what happens to people when they do that? You think it should be in the feed of we're having this conversation. People were listening. I made a really good point. Now that point is gone. I'm not getting any feedback on this. People aren't seeing it unless they see it directly in my own feed and reference it. If you don't have 100,000 followers like yours truly, you won't necessarily see it. Only when you're in that, right? So while it's a good way to coordinate it, if you're live tweeting a debate or you're live tweeting a hearing or something, and that's a really great way to do that, pay attention, because that is an increasing strategy. I'm not kidding about this. This is an actual material strategy by the troll farms. And what it is it's meant to make people who are politically active feel, because you get this kind of emotional response, like, oh, well, I guess, maybe people don't agree with what I'm saying, or maybe my point isn't as valid, or maybe it's not getting as much support. And you don't realize all you did, and maybe later on you go, oh, how did impeachment, how did that happen? That's what they're doing. I'm just telling you that, and I want you to have that on the radar. We got to take a break in a minute, and I'm sorry we couldn't take calls today, but I was afraid Rudy would call in, and of course the station was struck by lightning. I'm just lucky that we have Johnny as the voice of God. Don't forget to support the show, by the way. Thank you. If you Hal,
answer me.
Right. Don't forget to support the show. We've taken on a bunch of new patrons in the last month or whatever, and they're just starting. Your patches will be going out soon. Very excited about the new people that are joining, and those who've upped their level of support is fantastic. If in any way you can support the show, I know we have a $5, $10, and $20 level and those kind of things, because that's what helps us with the machinery we will need as we grow the show. And our goal is 500 patrons. And we're at 106 now, so we got a long way to go. We crested over that 100, and I thank you guys so much. So if in any way you can support us, even if it's just $1, even though that doesn't get you into any of the tiers, if that's what you're feeling and you want to give it a shot, I greatly appreciate it, especially if you're listening to the podcast for the first time. It is the way to support the show the best, as well as super chats when you join us in the chat room on Saturdays. It's a great way to do that too. And but we got to take a break. We'll be back right after this. This whole show's almost its own happy ending. For this week, the amount of stuff, as it plays out, just the fact that we can literally trace this phone call and Rudy Giuliani's follow-up to the Russian ambassador quitting, the National Security Advisor, and the DNI quitting, is in and of itself the obvious criminal activity on behalf of the president. And the fact that he in some ways thinks it shouldn't be criminal for him to do it just puts him in the Nixon category. Well, if the president does it, then it is not illegal. Well, I got news for you, buddy. It is.
I got news for you.
Yeah, that's right. We got commercials. Anyways, we'll be back right after this. So, thanks, Gruff Maria, for even asking. Patreon.com/Hal Sparks is the way you do it. It's quite easy. There's the address right there. Go and sign up, become a member of the Blue Patch Brigade. At the first level, that actually gets you a free guest to any of my shows. You buy a ticket, you can bring a friend for free. At all the levels above that, from 10 up, you get to come and bring a guest. So that's 2 free tickets to any stand-up show I'm doing in your area, or any band show or anything like that. And that will extend, if and when, and possibly if we do them, if we can make this happen, to Sexy Liberal shows as well. So, yeah. So there you go. You guys will be my guests at those shows by doing that. It also, I do a free comedy show every month because I post only to the patrons. I do it at Flappers, and then I just post the show after the fact to you guys. The holiday shows that are coming up will be live streamed, including they'll be on the 20th of October on Patreon. There will be a Halloween themed stand-up show. Thanksgiving, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, we'll be doing a Thanksgiving themed show for the patrons, and then there's just before Christmas, the Sunday before Christmas, we'll be doing a show as well. That will stream directly to the Patreon site, and only patrons will get to view it or whatever. It's just something extra I can give you guys because I didn't want to stop doing the radio show or limit the post show or any of that stuff. So these are just extra things. But ultimately, if you're supporting via Patreon, you're really just supporting the show. The money doesn't go in, sort of cash in pocket to me. I just use it to buy gear and develop the show and improve the content of the cameras, the audio equipment, and all that kind of stuff. And usually that works great, except when the station is struck by lightning. That was something I did not. Even the patrons couldn't stop that. I'm just saying. No. So, and stick around for the post show afterwards, if you will. Come to the YouTube page if you want, because that's where the post show will be. All right, we're coming back. We're almost there. So there you go. Brad, is that official that they're not going on recess? Because I knew I'd heard that they were taking recess, but that the committees were all staying. So are they officially sticking around? Because that's news. Welcome back to the show. I'm Hal Sparks. Thank you, Amy, for becoming a patron. That's so awesome, sweet, and that's great. Right. What was Roy? What? What did you just say? Are you just you were the roaring voice of God? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Or if anybody is familiar from the Chicago area, I'm Bob Rohrman.
Oh, I see. I got you. All right. So, by the way, tonight got 2 shows here in lovely downtown La Jolla at the Comedy Store. Last night's shows were terrific, even though I started the first one late because I had to drive down from LA after taping yesterday. What an insane 48 hours. I'll talk about it in the post show because it's still.
You gotta tell us what you were taping. Should I know what you were taping? Or are you gonna be mad at me
it's Meredith Vieira's new show, 25 Words or Less. It's a game show.
Oh, cool.
And I can't. Until it airs, I can't talk about how it went.
No, of course
I'm just going to say that if you're a contestant on that show, you want me on your team. That's all I'm saying. That's all. There's obviously a wild card in there, so it's not a magic bullet. It doesn't work every time. But trust me, statistically speaking, you want me on your team. Now, does that mean I will be called back to do more of these shows? Probably not, because good players are expensive, I'm just saying. But
Hey now.
Hey now. I don't even know what I can talk about in it. But it was fun, and it was great. But they were like, I was doing a show, I did a show Thursday in La Jolla. They're like, hey, can you tape tomorrow, which means driving back to LA in the middle of the night after the show, basically. Getting up, shooting all day, and then driving. I left Hollywood going to La Jolla, which is 2 hours and 35 minutes. If you're lucky, but just at the base without traffic really being bad. On a Friday, I left at 5:40
uphill
for a 7:30 show. So
Both
needless
ways.
to say, we started a half hour late, and my feature had to stretch a little bit, but she did great. Charlene's wonderful, and it was just an adventure. But I got there, show was awesome, audience was fantastic, super good. Both shows were really fun. Tonight's going to be great. And then tomorrow I'm at the Improv doing a show called Super Funny, which is where it's an AV comedy show where you use like video and other elements. And I'm making my case that TED Talks are the reason that we are in all the trouble we're in. That the world is going to be destroyed by TED Talks. And I make that case fairly soundly.
So this is a bad time for me to announce my TED Talk?
Yeah. Well, that's always true. I mean, honestly, if they're giving you a TED Talk, that, unless it's one of those, 15 best uses for giant fingers, which I would totally watch and would have 2 million views. Did I insult you?
I'm just trying not to say all the horrible things I want to say.
Good. Okay. Well, that's so we're back to normal. All right. And me too. So the professor says I should wear a Jesse Ventura mask on that, which I don't think I need. I think I just need one of those bald cap things with the hair that hangs in the back. You know, the blonde, the Hulk Hogan wig.
Yep.
You know, the cap and hair. Anyways, so I digress. Obviously, and we've only got a few minutes left in the show, but this is going to play out in super obvious. But one of the things that Michael McKay, who one of the people I follow a bunch of people on Twitter who kind of keep track of the actuals, and he tweeted, I think this was yesterday, the armed forces of the Russian Federation and its mercenaries broke the ceasefire 14 times on September 27th. The Russians attacked Vodyan, Lebedinsk, Bodenvinka, Avdivka, Pidyana, Travniva, Novohranska, Luhanska, and Novovanvinska. That's pretty close. I got fairly close. It wasn't 100%. I threw an S in there where it didn't belong. Repeatedly, this is going on now. They've been negotiating a ceasefire, trying to, and while this is happening, and has been happening all along, Rudy Giuliani has been rolling into this country saying if you don't play ball with the president, he's going to cut off funds, and you know how close he is with Vladimir Putin. The threat could not be more explicit. And Hal Vickery says my accent's pretty good. All right. It's pretty good. Well, a lot of those very hard to Vodyan. There's no way to pronounce them without the actual accent. But Russia's going to break the ceasefire today. And this is what Vladimir Putin wants. Vladimir Putin's entire goal is for people not to trust democracies and to feel like they are vulnerable when they are under a democracy. That's the thing. Because one of the reasons why people like Trump, the Trump backers who really are fervently behind them, is because they view him as their pit bull. As long as he bites the right people, he can bite the wrong people sometimes because he's my dog and I know he's my dog. Even if he's a ratty, vicious beast, as long as I feel safe because he's in the house.
He should be fixed. Is he fixed? He should be fixed.
Technically, I think the word is broken because you don't fix something that works. I've always had a problem with that when they say that about pets. Yeah, we had our dog fixed. Really? So he can have puppies now? Anyways, this is the single reason. And by the way, if you want to lure those folks away from him, even if you don't lure them to your side, you have to make them recognize that he is not protecting them. He's protecting himself. And if he would have a chance, he will throw them under the bus as well. That they, America third. And by the way, that's exactly what's going on. I mean, all of these calls that are coming out, all this stuff that he's doing, this is all about breaking ground on Trump Tower, Moscow, 6 months after he leaves office. That's what this is about. Everything. And I've said to you guys, one of the most difficult things about our election cycle is whoever the front runners are in the two main parties, they get a version of the president's daily brief, above top secret view of the world. And in that, our intelligence people know what leaders are stable or unstable. That you may look at the news and go, that country's holding it together, and go, actually, we know that the leader has a cocaine problem, and his brother wants to murder him. We've intercepted cables. So they're on the brink of a coup. Everything's fine now, but it could fall apart. And in other ones, you could go, this country looks like a wreck, but it's actually fairly stable and will remain so, we think, there's no reason to think it's going to shift at all. So let's say if you're in the hotel business, all your friends in the hotel business might want to know, or you might want to not tell them while you build your hotels. You might not want to build them in the country that seems stable. You might want to build them in the country that's a little wonky, because that one's actually going to be the one that pays off long term. That's when the one with the best beach property. Those are invaluable. That in and of itself is worth its weight in gold. And that's, by the way, the old, like, I'm running to sell books idea, which is true. That's the second game plan. Like, that's the sweet grease. Even if you don't make it, you get information. Now, most of the time when Dems are running, they're people who've already been in office. They've either had intel clearance, or they've been high up in the Senate, or they've been Secretary of State or Vice President. They've had this clearance. On the Republican side, that's not the case. And the guys who run for that office and want that, all of those folks, they need this. If they just get that, they get the financial benefit from losing Mitt Romney is valuable in and of itself. So keep that in mind, as we go into the next election cycle, and and as you watch Bill Weld and Joe Walsh and all these guys running, and Appalachian Trail dude, who the irony, Bill Weld aside, to some degree because he's fairly normal, but these are the three guys. These are the three guys who are running against Trump, who are trying to primary him. This is the great hope of the real Republican Party. Joe Uli Walsh and Appalachian Trail. Like the guy who skipped Father's Day to be with his mistress, and while he was supposed to be governing. Okay, we'll talk to you guys next week. I have no idea. We will be flooded with news. Johnny, you're awesome. CPT is the best. Love you guys, everybody, and we will see you guys next week. And we're out. Thank you guys. I will bring a.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. Let me know if when you guys get the other computer replaced or fixed, so we can go back to our normal connection thing. Because I'm on the road next weekend as well, so if I will have to bring extra stuff with me if it's there. So
Okay, I'll keep you posted. Should be back by next week, though.
love it. Thank you so much. Okay, cheers. Bye. Johnny, you're awesome. So yeah, now you're. Let's see. I think if I don't. Yeah. Now I think you're normal. I just don't have to. Really? That's what you're doing? You're just sniffing?
It's the after show.
Relax. Stretch out, man. Come on. That's what we're trying to do up in here.
Really? That's what you're doing?
Kick back, get yourself a glass of iced tea, and relax yourself. I have to say, most of this stuff, as it's gone down this week, has been almost just unbelievable. Like, it's that it's happening is completely believable, but it's been unbelievable in terms of that it was so easy. It was almost like a giant version of the Lester Holt
really
interview.
In disbelief about a lot of it.
But the Lester Holt interview, the moment where they did it on SNL, and they're like, wait. Did he just? So I got him? That was it? That's it? Yeah. It's so easy. He just admitted it. This and again, weaponizing his hubris while attacking his ego. Because the more, and again, this goes to the whole, I know I argue this all the time, and I know I'm a jerk for continuing to try and push this. But I don't think he's a narcissist in the classic sense. He may have narcissistic personality disorder, but he's not a narcissist. He's got low self-esteem. Trump hates his own reflection. He hates his neck gina, he hates his hair, he hates his orange skin, he hates his bloodshot eyes and his tiny hands. It drives him crazy. He hates his height. He wears lifts. He hates his his belly, and he wears these big drapey clothes to kind of like he hates himself. Hal, you don't forget to change your Twitch title. Still say, I updated it. I did. Restream's supposed to update those things. Dagnabbit, I don't understand why it won't do that. You understand? And by the way, it's okay because I'm actually going to sign off from Twitch and move over for the post show just to YouTube. So you guys, if you would, join me in there, and don't forget to like and subscribe everywhere. The Twitch people, you guys are wonderful. The feed is has been really solid lately, so I love you guys, and I'm glad that's working out. Signing off on Twitch. I will see you guys midweek for some gaming fun. Periscope, everybody on Twitter, love you guys. Hop over to the YouTube page, infotainmentwars.com, and you can watch the post show. Facebook, same deal. Hop on over there, and we'll see you guys. You can join in the chat over there, and don't forget, you can become patrons as well. It all works. It's all very helpful. We'll hop over there. So now, YouTube stream. It's just us. Here we are, gathered around privately in a hotel room, hanging out. How you doing? Johnny of Chernobyl. Is that what your nickname is now? I hosted you for the show. Oh, thanks. I appreciate you. She hosted me on Twitch, so that's really awesome. And thanks TLK Knitting for letting me know I've figured this stuff out. So keep mistaking Joe Walsh for the musician. I know. I would so much. Remember his song when he ran for office? Vote for me. What you know.
It would be easier if Joe Walsh, the musician, had not run for president.
Yeah, because he had a song, "Vote for Me," and he had in one of the lines was, "I'll see you at the next debate. If we had beer, wouldn't that be great? Vote for me." Like, I just remember the line being, "If we had beer, wouldn't that be great?"
That's very
somebody
silly.
needs to play that. Like, I don't think Joe Walsh would get in trouble with the Joe Walsh for playing that at any rally he might have.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I think he'd get away with it. So oh God, I was so proud of myself this week because I had like all my audio stuff on my iPad, but I had to use it to connect to Chicago because the station was struck by lightning. And
what would you have used otherwise?
Well, like, you mean normally to get stuff in? I would have prepped it on the laptop and had it be in the clean feed, but they can't use clean feed because the computer that they use clean feed on had been electrocuted. So I had to use the iPad to use the Tieline app so that it would work, so it would be loud enough so it would play over it's just ridiculous. But it all happened this morning. Like, I get this text at 7 a.m. like, so CPT was struck by lightning last night? I'm like, I don't know. Because it was good. You know, this is the first week of me doing the Sexy Liberal podcast. And I was like, I'm looking forward to doing a live show so they have something to pull from. As it stands, I'm more than likely going to use the audio from the YouTube to send to them as opposed to that, you know. But Angie says conspiracy is Trump, Barr, Rudy, Pence, Pompeo, Kushner, Ivanka. As far as the direction of stuff, I don't know where the Ivanka part comes in. I mean, I don't doubt she plays a part. But Kushner definitely had a meeting with Zelensky. And again, he's at a dinner with him. Picture comes out, Kushner at dinner with Zelensky, right? Right after he's elected, private kind of state dinner. where there are other diplomats, there are other leaders at that thing, but Kushner is sitting right next to Zelensky. You know what I mean? It's not that, oh, here he is. It's like those, obviously, the pictures of Jill Stein and Mike Flynn at the RT Putin table. Like, that's pretty gnarly. But at least they were...
RT Putin table sounds like a fun Saturday morning cartoon show.
Putin table.
The RT Putin table.
Gather around, kids, for a Putin table. Now, what we are going to do first, shirtless horseback riding. Wouldn't you like? Yeah. And then we will go hunting. What's the cutest animal you like, little girl? Because Uncle Pooty Poot will shoot. Now, after this, we will prank call Donald Trump and use the sweat cam we put in his office when we were visiting there to watch how he starts to have panic attack. Watch this. Hello. Thank you for calling the red line. Hi, Pooty Poot. Love you. Smooches. Did I say it right?
Where the hell are we?
Exactly right. Hey, Donald, I've been looking at the news, and I got to say, man, not impressed. So I've decided I'm going to release the audio of all of our... Don't, please! Just give me 2 more months, and we'll get out of here. I'll step down. Just kidding, buddy. Just kidding, buddy. Laugh it up. Hello? Hello? I think he blacked out. He fell down. Somebody... No, okay. I can see the cam. He's okay. He's just grabbing his chest and snorting some Adderall, and he's pushed the Diet Coke button. He's fine. He's fine. Back to normal. Okay. See you. Talk to you later, and don't forget Uncle Pooty Poot always watching. Click. But kids, welcome to Putin's table. This is wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So the picture of Kushner again. He's sitting right next to the guy. Now there's across the table, which is a problem. With certain leaders, certain circumstances, bad optics, sitting at a table, you're across the table from the dude. Being Jill Stein and being 4 seats over from Vladimir Putin, that's a problem. Being Mike Flynn, being directly across, I think, or like 3 seats over from Putin, that's a problem. But in those cases, if those guys wanted to talk to Putin for anything other than kind of a congratulatory, you're awesome, they'd have to do it out loud. Now, granted, the ears are pretty sympathetic most of the time, but there's a chance they might have had somebody from the State Department or whatever there or around who went, Jesus, I'm glad I went to this thing. Did you hear what he said? But they would have had to say it out loud, right? Kushner always seems to be within whisper distance of these folks. You know what I mean? Like he can just lean over, like Zelensky's like, the fish isn't bad. It's nice to meet you. You're taller in person, And then, Jared leans over and in his weird kind of like alien whisper, the most important thing you need to do for Father is follow Rudy's instructions exactly. Yeah, I can't whisper that voice without hurting myself, but you get it. And by the way, for those of you asking in the chat room, my dad's, let's see. Ginger says, happy birthday to Hal's dad, too. Today is my father's birthday, which is great. Yeah. Julie says, what goes on in your head, Hal? I would love to join you sometime. I don't know if I could keep up. There's a lot going on. There's a busy crowd in there, I got to say. But, especially when there's a whole diplomatic meal happening in my head, and it's bad enough. We've got Mike Flynn in there, and you've got Jill Stein, kind of before Marianne Williamson was running, there was Jill Stein, and vote, I'm a good vote if you're trying to vote for Donald Trump, but not say you voted for Donald Trump, but you don't want to not vote at all. That's my whole platform. Anyways, so, like I said, those guys being at the same table with him, here's the thing. These folks are not at a table in Brazil where the Russian ambassador also showed up because the Russians are, basically the Russians have said to China, you can take Africa, we'll take South America. That's what's happening right now, by the way. That's that's just the understood argument. That's, you guys can have Africa, we'll take South America. But it isn't that Mike Flynn and Jill Stein happen to be at a dinner in Venezuela or Brazil or French Guyana, or Papua New Guinea or or Bolivia or France, even, for crying out loud. They are always in Russia at Putin's table. They are having dinner in a country like Ukraine with the person they're trying to scare the hell out of. They're not anywhere else. UR2 in the chat says, I thought Hal and his mom had the same birthday. We do. My mom and my birthday were on Wednesday, and my dad's is today. So we're all Libras. It explains a lot. So as this goes forward, it's just going to get nuttier, and you obviously have watched ad nauseum the oh, look at that. 24 words or less are already tweeting out stuff about me. I thought I had to keep it a secret. Oh,
cool.
Yeah. So I was literally going to all you have to do is you could basically on Twitter type in Giuliani crazy and literally clip after clip, and hit videos. The volume of this insanity. Oh, and then did you by any chance see Richard Engel literally talking to the current prosecutor? He was talking to one of the main prosecutors. Effectively, one of their AGs, the sort of the equivalent in their country of Attorney General Barr, and he's like, we looked into Biden and the Junior, which is what I loved. He calls Biden and his son, Biden and the Junior, and we found nothing. No, there's nothing. Yeah. So, but Biden himself,
because you irresponsibly say, please. Yeah, well, you actually usually say incredibly stupid things.
You're a public figure.
Yeah, and by the way, do you have any idea that the State Department...
So then you know the libel law.
Shut up, Rudy. Shut up. Okay, hold on. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about.
Chris,
you don't know what you're talking about, idiot.
I do.
The state... No, you don't. You just
Mr.
lied.
Mayor, I wish you would stop.
You lied, my friend.
I wish you would stop, Mr. Mayor.
Well, why don't you tell him... Why don't you tell him...
I wish you would stop.
That was Laura Ingraham going,
keep his mouth shut so we can tell the truth.
Yeah, Chris, just let Rudy
just keep
say,
your lying
and then
mouth
you can
shut.
respond.
Okay.
yeah, Chris, just let Rudy say. Yeah, he's as soon as he gets a chance, look. The one thing you need to know about Rudy is that he was just following orders. Okay, she's this weird, she's like a Nazi Kermit the Frog.
Just that people can talk to each other at all like that ever.
Well, the Cuomo stuff is, in and of itself is gorgeous. So Giuliani was on Hannity. This should be no surprise to anybody. He's on Hannity, and he's talking to Hannity being interviewed, and he gets asked, and this was way back, at the Mueller stuff or whatever, which I think is one of the funniest aspects of this.
I still have all my senses, and I'm a heck of a lawyer.
Hold on, wait.
In light of all of this, that it was tainted from the beginning,
and that the investigation from the beginning obviously was done by people that had a bias, that would render it illegitimate, and any objective person.
By the way, again, Hannity pushing the idea of bias or whatever, and it's amazing again how biased people get around, about Trump the minute they see the evidence. Like, it's incredible, the volume of bias, unbelievable. Yeah.
Mind. Do you foresee any circumstances under which you would allow the president to talk to Mueller and his team? I have to ask the question. This is my job.
So far, I still have all my senses, and I'm a heck of a lawyer. And
Citation
I'd
needed.
The profession if I did. I mean, the reality is, you don't put your client in a kangaroo court. I'm going to have him go in with a guy like Weissman, who was at her.
Yeah. That's a year ago. That's Rudy saying, "Do I look crazy?" The fascinating part is when he's, I guess this is just kind of there is this New York circle that, we all heard this clip in the last week.
That there was interference in the election of 2016 by the Ukrainians for the benefit of Hillary Clinton, for which there already is a court
never asked
finding.
anything about Hunter Biden. You never asked anything about Joe Biden.
The only thing I asked about Joe Biden is to get to the bottom of how it was that Lutsenko, who was appointed, dismissed the case against Antac.
So you did ask Ukraine to look into Joe Biden?
Of course I did.
You just said you didn't.
No, I didn't ask him to look into Joe Biden. I asked him to look into the allegations that related to my client, which tangentially involved Joe Biden in a massive bribery scheme, not unlike.
I've never understood that part of New York accent. Tom Brokaw has that same thing, these weird rolling L's that they all do. Oh, well, it's right on news. Like and so don't forget to like and subscribe. It's always amazed me. But like Giuliani and I guess Cuomo, and they've known each other for a long time, and obviously like his father's the governor or whatever, or I don't know what that family situation is. I always forget.
Funkle.
Is it his uncle?
His funkle.
His funkle? Okay. But the idea that these guys would have this kind of falling out on the air, this is just embarrassing. This part is amazing.
What I said was this. I asked them to investigate the allegations that relate to the false charges against the President of the United States. Those allegations tangentially involve Biden.
So your answer should have been
Let me
yes.
finish, Chris. Let me finish.
Go ahead.
And don't try to interrupt because you don't like the answer. And
I don't like evasiveness.
And you want to distort what I'm saying.
I don't want to distort.
You're totally biased.
I'm not biased.
You are,
Why would
Chris.
I have you on if I were biased, knowing that we're going to have this kind of conversation?
Because it is sad to watch what happened to you. It's sad.
Sad to watch what happened to me. I'm a sellout.
You are a sellout.
You are telling me that
No, you're a sellout, yeah.
And because they're Democrats, you won't cover it. A $1.5 million investment by China in Biden's private equity fund, and the partners
I'm not
are
saying that
Kerry's
these types
son
of things shouldn't be.
Oh, by the way, that private equity fund, Biden's son was in a business deal with two other guys, and they were setting up equity funds. One of the partners of that equity fund set up a separate one, and Biden wasn't comfortable being a part of that one. The one that they're talking about, the equity fund in China, Biden's son is not a part of that one. He's business partners with that guy on other stuff. So that, even that, yeah, you're the puppet. Exactly. Brad in the chat room says, you're the puppet. You're the puppet. You're the puppet. No puppet. There's no puppet here. But the fact that they're like, you're a sellout, you sellout, you are
And who's the host of that?
That's Chris Cuomo.
And that's on Fox?
Huh? No, that's CNN, man.
Oh.
Yeah. So you're a sellout. You sold me out. You like it just sounds like outtakes from Goodfellas where they go, cut. Wait a second, that's ridiculous. Nobody talks like that.
No, you're the sellout. No. Oh, I look like a sellout to you? You're the sellout. You. Look at. I'm going to ask you something. Would you sell me out? Yeah, the sellout. You a bapa. You mother.
it's embarrassing.
Oh God, yes.
The two of them.
Whitey Bulger's nephew?
I mean, honestly, Whitey Bulger's nephew. Like, is
that they were partners with Whitey Bulger's nephew?
I'm not saying that
That's
anything that you're
outrageous.
saying shouldn't
and
be looked
your
at.
corrupt media won't cover it because he's a Democrat.
Rudy, I can't just cover something because you say I should. All right, that's not the way it
you
works.
don't have to say
but
I
I got to
should.
tell you,
Read the book.
You who my whole lifetime stood up for one simple
I do.
ideal when you were
And
at your
I am
best,
standing
which
up
was
for
character
justice,
counts and leadership.
And you are standing up for two systems of justice.
Oh, I'm
Joe
standing up for
Biden
two systems
can
of
be
justice.
involved in
Oh, I'm
bribery.
oh.
Joe Biden's son can get $1.5 billion from China, and you won't cover it. And you want to cover some ridiculous charge that I urged the Ukrainian government to investigate corruption. Well, I did, and
I'm proud of it. And like, you ordered the coder. You're goddamn right I did. Like, honestly, is that not?
You need me on that wall.
That's right. Yeah. You don't need me on that wall. You don't want me on that wall. Build that wall. Oh, by the way, side note, I don't suppose you saw the new Rambo.
No. I keep hearing crazy things about it though.
I went and saw it. I saw it Monday. I was supposed to see it the night it came out, but I was like, I had too much traveling to do, and I just couldn't find a window. And I liked it. Wasn't as violent as the last one. So I was a little disappointed. The last one was way more violent. Again, just genius marketing on the part of Sylvester Stallone, in that I think this movie cost about, like, on material levels, like $4 million.
Sure.
Like, P&A was probably through the roof, but this, I mean, it was like, I think maybe some CGI, but the rest of it was all like it was like an A-Team episode if they followed through. You know what I mean? And it was, it was Saw meets Home Alone in some ways. And it was a revenge fantasy, and I even tweeted Sylvester Stallone about this, like there was a shot of him like just finished filming, so proud of it, blah blah blah, and I wrote underneath that I was like, very heartbreaking and cathartic, keep on keeping on, Sly, and he liked and retweeted it. I was like, oh damn, all right, that's the first. By the way, his stuff with his daughters is adorable. I don't know if you've ever seen him with his family, but it's hysterical.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, it's great. Like, he's such a dad. It's weird. Anyway, so I saw the movie, and everybody was like, it's Trump propaganda about Mexican rapists and blah blah blah. And I'm like, if you watch it, it's not very good in that regard, because literally there's a section, it takes place, he's from Bowie, Arizona, and there's a section of the slat fence that's part, the wall that Trump is so proud of, and they literally have a scene where the bad guys from Mexico, the cartel pimps who murder and kill people, the sex traffickers, go into a building on the other side of the border, go down a little hole and into a tunnel that's concrete. Like, they've got a professionally built tunnel that goes right under the wall. And they come up and they've got like cars and guns and all kinds of stuff just in this warehouse that they can use anytime they come into the States. So when they come to kill him on his farm, because he baited them to do it, is the idea. He basically sets a trap for him. But when they come across, like, the wall didn't work. Like, it couldn't have been worse for the wall argument if they'd have been one of those guys that climb it in backpacks. So that part of it kind of falls apart. And certainly the fact that everybody, every Mexican character that isn't involved in this sex trafficking group is a decent person just trying to live, is also kind of cuts against the Trump narrative a little bit. Everybody he encounters who isn't a direct criminal, which is, since it's a fight movie, probably, like 30% of the people he talks to or experiences or whatever, they're all not just good, they're like dragging him into their house to patch him up, that kind of stuff. So as a propaganda movie, it's no Bird Box, is what I'm saying. Like, Bird Box is probably the perfect Trump movie. And so, anyways, saw that this week, and it's just fascinating, that part of it. And like let's see. And Anna's saying, now I have to see Rambo. Nah, you probably don't. I mean, it's a very specific kind of movie. The last one was rough. The last one was about the civil war in Myanmar and Burma, and like that one was just harsh, just hard to watch. It's great, but it's hard. It's painful, and this one is sad. It's a sorrowful movie, but that being said, I mean, I like them, and I like the guy, and I like, I don't have to I feel like anybody who's even mildly got a conservative tendency at all in Hollywood gets painted in the John Voight category, and I don't think that's fair. For me, like, I cut people a little more, I give them a little more room to move. But as a fan of those, it was nice to go see those. Yeah, Six is saying you could fry eggs on that fence. Yeah, they talk about how hot it gets or whatever, and Trump, of course, coming out and saying it's electrified. He's like, there's electrical current running through it that can shock you or whatever. Isn't that right? Tell him, guy from DHS. And the dude in charge of the border's like, Mr. President, there might be a good reason not to talk about that from a national security standpoint.
Wow.
Yeah. And he went, oh, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. But still, it is electrified, just in case you were wondering. You're like, you ass! What is wrong with you? Yeah. So, we'll roll back. Yeah, Sly does have a beautiful family. His daughters are great. He's raised some strong women. They're good people. Let's see. And Eric's whipping out the Fredo in it. You can't say that because of how Chris Cuomo apparently feels about the word Fredo, which I have to say is a bit of a reach. So Trump and the Republicans are like Bird Box, the blind leading the blind. That's a good analogy. I will say, though, that the problem I had with Bird Box, and I mentioned this before, was that there's a lot of baseline parts of the storyline that are messed up. But it's one of those horseshoe theory things that you're so far left, you end up being on the right. Did you see Bird Box, Johnny?
I did. I kind of liked it.
Okay. So, in the whole thing, who's the Cassandra character? Who's the character who always turns out to be right?
Oh, golly.
Who always says, don't do it, and turns out to be correct? Malkovich. Malkovich always says, don't let those people in. No, we can't go there.
Yeah.
And every time they do it, every single time, somebody dies because they don't listen to him. As a matter of fact, the lady, one of the funny moments in the movie is supposed to be when there are those people at the door. And he's like, got the shotgun, and he's like, I'm not letting them in. They can stay outside. To hell with them. No, don't let them in. And it's a whole, like, do we take in refugees in asylum? It's meant to be that kind of thing. And this guy is an asshole for not letting them in, right? That's the whole point of that scene. He gets hit with a frying pan by the old lady who's the leader of the resistance, right? They lock him in the garage and let those people in. And those people turn out to be the people who are on the side of whatever the Bird Box monster is and force everybody to look at it. And the pregnant woman who just had a baby dies, and the old lady gets thrown out a window by those people. So Malkovich, the build that wall, let's make the apocalypse great again. Don't you people understand? He's the Trump character in it, and every time he says something, he turns out to be correct about their own safety.
But they forgot about that whole bit.
Yeah, and then where does she end up after going down the river?
Disney World?
No, where you know where they ended up? Where they ended up in a school for the blind. Remember?
Oh yeah.
What was special about the building? Do you remember?
I don't at all.
It had a wall around it. The whole thing had a wall around it, and all the her character is clearly representative of liberal ideology, and she's a mom who, even though she acts on her choice about having a child, she chooses to have the child, but it's her choice, and so they really do set this up as being very overt. They end up in a walled enclosure with and who can go on the outside? Who are the people who are allowed who have the rest of the world, who live freely? Right-wing gun nuts own the world. At the end of the movie, liberals are trapped in a little prison and can't leave, and the right-wing crazy people with guns just enjoy a life out in the open, following the misty leader, or doing what it tells them to do by folding into the authoritarian system of this thing floating around killing everybody. Oh, by the way, there's only one Hispanic character in it, the girl. She steals a car and leaves. She's completely untrustworthy.
Well.
She has premarital sex with the drug dealer, and they steal the only car and leave. They die, of course, but still. It's and the main black character, who's like her sort of love interest, is only there for his physical worth. She has sex with him, and then he dies protecting her and the kids. He doesn't make it. It looks like one of the Left Behind movies. Kirk Cameron and his crowd are like, we can't put this out. People will slaughter us. But same kind of thing. The expectation is, though, that's a lefty movie, when actually all the kind of underlying theme of it is the exact opposite. And then meanwhile, everybody thinks Rambo is this right-wing movie, and if you look at it, it's not. I mean, the woman and the girl he's living with, who are basically his family, are Mexican. They're the only family he's ever had, is what he says. And when he loses them, that's when he goes off. Yeah. So I mean, I guess I watch. Maybe I dissect these things a little too much, but it matters, and Tom, did you say Ad Astra was great, but a bit sad. Hal called it an allegory of Alzheimer's. I agree. Yeah, did you? Because I know Carl went and saw it. Did you guys?
I haven't seen that one yet.
Okay. You can tell the baseline story from the, Tommy Lee Jones is his dad. He's gone a bit rogue. He's got to go after his dad. Something's up, right? That's going on. And that his dad might be doing something that will destroy everything, right? That's in the trailer. As a movie, it is incredibly quiet and patient. It is not it's got a couple of loud moments, but for the most part, it's a very drawn out narrative. And I really felt it was an allegory for Alzheimer's. When your parent starts to lose their mind, and you're confronted with your own mortality by looking at theirs, and your fears about your own, possibility of going the same way, and how you deal with that. There's a lot to it in that, which I liked. And there were a couple of moments, because my grandfather died of Alzheimer's and my dad worries about it a lot. I'm not necessarily concerned the same way he is, but I remember watching my dad go through that worry about my grandfather really seemed to overlay very well onto the movie. And so the couple of moments that I found very emotional and teared up in it were because that was the root of that emotion. Him feeling that about his, his father or whatever, and you like that, that hit that I'm curious how people who may have experienced, any dementia or Alzheimer's in their family, or those kind of those kind of moments where people have mental illness and they're drifting, how you deal with that and how you project onto that, your own fears of it happening to you, if it's genetic, if it's hereditary, like all these elements. So to me, that's, that was the biggest part of that movie, because in a lot of ways it like took pieces of Gravity and other things and kind of stitched it together. It was a bit slapdash in its lineage, in the linear nature of the storyline. But I don't want to talk more about it in case anybody goes and sees it. I loved it. I mean, I thought it was a beautiful film. And Nacho Tube says, sounds like Heart of Darkness in space. You're not wrong. That is definitely the basis. It's just a family version of it. It's just because it's a parent instead of just Colonel Kurtz as the dude. Did you ever see Heart of Darkness, Johnny? The Apocalypse Now documentary.
David Soul?
Huh?
Is that the one with David Soul?
No, it's the documentary about Apocalypse Now.
Oh. I was thinking of, there was a weird made-for-TV movie. Let me look it up. With David Soul. Yeah, but I never saw the documentary about Apocalypse Now.
Oh my God, it's a miracle in and of itself. So, short story of this is.
There was a 1993 TV movie called Heart of Darkness with David Soul.
Oh, okay, that's a different one then. Because in this case, it's did they make the original Heart of Darkness? Is it basically Apocalypse Now just done as a TV movie?
Yeah, it's Joseph Conrad.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, they made. Oh, look at that. 9,768 subscribers. We actually have gone up 258 subscribers on the channel in the last 28 days. You guys, I love you. And Can't Stop Lying, thanks for the hard push. I just saw that for the first time. That's fantastic. Bless you for joining in there. We are creeping our way towards that 10K number. It's nice to see that. Our views are up 17%. Our watch time's up 11%. We're doing all right. The channel's growing, and I thank you guys for that. I just noticed that because I was trying to go to the how you get to the streaming stuff, so I could see what you guys were doing internally in the chat and in YouTube. So, in the Heart of Darkness movie, so. Lots of stuff almost went wrong with Apocalypse Now. It was falling apart. They thought it was never going to get made. There was all kinds of stuff. I think it was Harvey Keitel was originally cast in the Martin Sheen part. Martin Sheen got cast after they had issues with him, and then he had, I guess, Martin Sheen had a heart attack.
Harvey Keitel? That's funny.
What? Yeah, Martin Sheen had a heart attack. While it was
I heard about that.
During the filming. Yeah. I mean, it was just like everything that could fall apart would fall apart. And then Sheen has this he's even though he had a heart attack, he spent his time working to try and keep this whole thing together. He was really making a point of, oh my gosh. And I'm sorry, guys, I didn't see the super chats until just now. Billy, thank you so much. Oh my God, for the birthday fund. That is so awesome. And Hal Vickery, thank you for and the Prof, both of you, for the 666 support to help us buy 666 Fifth Avenue. And Ginger, thank you so much for the sticker, who is very happy and dancing. Gene, welcome. You're one of the first people in here. And James Etling, thank you so much. I'd like to see what the king of the birthers' reaction would be to demands to produce Barron Trump's DNA tests. Oh, my God. Yeah, that would be awkward. So you guys, I love you guys. In Army of Darkness, Army of Darkness. That's the sequel to Evil Dead, which is a far superior film in so many fronts. So Marlon Brando signs a contract, says I got to be out by January 7th. I don't know what the date was, but let's just say January 7th. Like when I come to film, you got to be done. I got to be out the door by January 7th, or it's $1 million a day. I'm already getting an exorbitant more money than any amount of money. I'm getting more than anybody else in this film. But if you go a day past January 7th, $1 million a day. And they're like, we start shooting in September. That shouldn't be a problem. Well, they never put a guaranteed start date for him to show up in the contract, because of course he's going to show up when they ask him to. That seems obvious. But it wasn't in there explicitly. So he shows up 10 days before he has to go, doesn't know his lines, is 180 pounds overweight or some nonsense, and bald. Doesn't look like character is in the book is like wiry and thin and looks like he's starved himself. And Brando says, no, I think this guy would be living off these people like he's a deity, and I think he'd be heavy. And so he used it as an excuse to put on a bunch of weight and all this stuff. And he doesn't know any of his lines. So they have to put a bug in his ear to feed him his lines. And then they just improv stuff and have him talk. And at one point, a bug flies in his mouth. And my favorite moment in the entire Heart of Darkness documentary is he's Kurtz, he's bald, he's sweating. It's this really noir lighting. You can see his face cut out of the darkness against this temple wall where he's set up shop. And he's sweating, and he goes, I swallowed a bug. That was it. He swallowed a bug. He literally just, it flew in his mouth. Yeah, Brad's like, I just ate a bug. It's it's hard for me to decide whether that's my favorite Marlon Brando moment. Although I did love him in The Freshman with Matthew Broderick, where he basically spoofs his Godfather character. He tried to buy that movie back and shelve it, by the way, and it was the most charming thing he'd done ever. So there we go. I don't know how we got off on this side note. I just wanted to talk movies with you. Have you seen anything lately? What do you've been binge?
I saw the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Might be the most recent thing I've seen.
I haven't seen that one. What's your yay, nay? I want to see it.
It starts out like just a real trudge of Quentin Tarantino, just self-love. This is how I would make noir westerns kind of thing.
Sure.
But then when it gets into like the alternate future of the Manson family, it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Mark in our chat room is asking, who is Monica Zelensky? It's Monica Zelensky. The joke is that's what the people in Ukraine are calling Trump. It's a play on Monica Lewinsky, and it's a play on their leader having an affair with our leader against the, at the detriment of the country. So there you go. I'll see it. What's funny is I did an impersonation of Bruce Lee last week at my Flappers show, and a bunch of people only knew it because I guess the dude in the movie is doing it. Yeah, is doing it.
Yeah, there's a guy who does a pretty good. He doesn't look a ton like Bruce Lee, but he really talks and moves like him.
That whole
the Green Hornet era
is amazing. I mean, the whole scene where he kicks the light was a turning point in American cinema.
I believe it.
Bruce Lee is literally why we film fight scene pieces in slow motion. Because it gives you the illusion of speed, and he would punch so fast, everybody's like, that's no good. Guy's already dead. The fight scene's over. You got to drag this out. It's like wrestle. It's like a logarithm of wrestling. You dial it down a little bit. But yeah, I'm curious now. I'll see that. But
and Brad Pitt. Like I'm always a fan of Brad Pitt, but he's so without giving too much away, he's so exactly what he seems to be the entire movie. Like, there's no weird twist. The guy's like a dirtbag for real. It's just like, he's so like...
It's not like Mickey and Snatch.
Yeah. It's just so real
Come
that
on,
it's really
come on, Mickey.
refreshing.
Yeah. You like dags? What? You like dags? Oh, dogs. Yeah, I like dags. I like caravans more. Yeah. I mean, I like Brad's stuff in, is more affected stuff. I loved him in 12 Monkeys. I don't know if many people... He's so great in 12 Monkeys, people.
Yeah, we still quote that around our house. Games want to get out.
Yeah. My name is Lieutenant Aldo Rain. Everyone in my company takes on a debit. 100 Nancy scalps, and I will have my scalps. Like that whole character.
I love that movie.
Yeah, in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
And the Nazi will fear us, and it will be with nightmares that he would dream of us in the night. Whatever, like, they are the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating mass murderer, and they must be destroyed. It's so charming and great. Still doesn't change the thing that you were having a meeting in a basement. Like, whose idea? Like, he's right. Why don't you got to listen to him? So that, yeah. Mark Lamont's quoting from Snatch. Fuck, I do the fight for free. I just want a caravan for me ma. Don't forget his periwinkle blue. He couldn't do it. He did a crap Irish accent, so they made one up for him for this, because he couldn't do it. There was always that joke. He did that movie. He did the Devil's Own with Harrison Ford, and Harrison Ford goes, "You've been working on your Irish accent," and Brad Pitt goes, "Yeah, I've been working on it quite hard." And he goes, "Let me hear some of it." Such a jerk. Yeah. Bull's not friendly. He's built like hell. He's 1,800 pounds. I am not. I don't know what that conversation's about. I lose the conversation in the chat room sometimes, and it's rolling back. I'm like,
you're 1,800 pounds. Hell, I mean,
yeah, something along those lines. I'm built like a chic Brit house. And it also takes the chat a little bit to catch up from what they're seeing from what I'm doing. Kathy says, I can do all the lines in that movie and all the Farrelly films, because why not? Yeah. I'm guessing you mean Inglourious Bastards, or... Excuse me, I yawned. It was a yesterday was a long day. Man. It was long. Yesterday, though, I will say this. We did a test game of that show, and it's a lot of fun. You should check it out if you like game shows. It's right. It's that mix of like Pictionary stuff with celebrities and the like, but also a real contestant trying to win real money. And that's all I'm saying. But you do a test game to kind of learn how to do it, and you have a minimum number of words. You have to get people to guess 5 words, what those 5 words are, using 25 words or less to describe them, and then you compete for how few you can do. Like I can get my team to guess what those 5 words are in 18 words or 15 words, which gives you 3 words apiece to describe the word and make them say it, right? So that's basic. It's good, and you fight with the other team. Like, I can do it in 14. Oh yeah, well go ahead, and you try to that kind of like. Yeah, I'd like to see it, because if they lose, you get the points. It's like Family Feud in that regard. So sometimes they'll fail. They'll undercut how many they think they need, and that happened quite often. But I got Rumpelstiltskin as one of my words.
That's not easy.
No.
That's
so
like the original. That's the OG guess this word.
That's right. And you have 3 words. I'm curious, Johnny, how would you do this? You got 3 words to get me to guess the word Rumpelstiltskin. 3 words. That's all you got left. You've used up all your other words. It's the last one. 3.
Fairy tale straw name.
Too many. That's 4.
Oh, fairy tales. Okay. And then yeah, I just lost. That was very sad.
I said fairy tale trickster.
Oh, look at you.
That was what I came up with. I got chalice as one of my words.
Neat.
And I said palace cup.
Nice.
Yeah? Yeah? Because it rhymes ish. I was like it's like psychological warfare. So it was good. Hal, is this a game show or were you tortured? Kind of both. Kind of both.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the show if you're just joining us and you joined us in the post show or you're from any of the other sources. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Just subscribe to the channel. Just subscribe. You don't even have to like. You can give me a thumbs down. I don't care. The attention helps the channel. We're approaching. We're within sniffing distance of that 10K number, and when that changes, that helps us across the board in the algorithm. It really gets us out there. Come on. Share the show. That also helps. Introduce it to other folks. If you guys are in the other sexy liberal chat rooms or Steph's chat room or any of those kind of things, let them know we're here. Some of them do, some of them just don't. I was surprised how many people didn't know about the regular CPT show, or they thought I'd done it for a while and stopped doing it or whatever because they just listen towards, during the week, and then on the weekends they take it off. So there you go. Let's see. I said I have a bull named 666, Hal. Pay attention to large caps. You're 50 now. The bull is called 666. Can you read it now? Laugh. Yes, now I can see it. Thank you. Obstruction of justice without an injustice. Are you making the case that you can't have obstruction of justice, that Trump couldn't have obstructed justice because there was no initial crime? Here's the problem with that. Okay, so this has been a defense from the Trump organization. Let's start within the first part of the Mueller report. One of the things that they said was we didn't get to talk to a lot of the people we wanted to talk to, and the president never sat for an interview of his own and fully answered all these questions in person. So we were not able to make out whether or not confirm some of these as far as motivation, especially in why people did certain things and if they did them in the time scale and timeline than we thought or whatever. So effectively, there was an element of obstruction of justice in the first count where we can see that there's collusion here, but without being able to interview the criminal in question, the suspect, we won't be able to determine it clearly enough. We believe we have enough information and evidence to try them in a normal court of law, but since the AG says we can't press charges, we're kind of frozen about what we're allowed to do. That in and of itself is that there was the obstruction of justice stuff in the second part was about scuttling the initial investigation and making sure they never found evidence of collusion. The second part is of course you can be charged with obstruction of justice without actually being found guilty of or charged with even the crime itself for a couple of reasons. One is just because you're successful at destroying a body doesn't mean we can't try you for evidence that you were in contact with that body during the time between it being dead and it being gone. And so, or if you witness tamper, you and a partner murdered someone and they know where the body is, but you threaten them, you witness tamper or you threaten your co-conspirator, that is obstruction of justice, even if they never are able to prove the crime afterwards because you were successful in intimidating your co-conspirator. You can't only have a criminal system that works when you're caught as much as Donald Trump would want it. So yes, you can, and I don't know what you mean by injustice. I think that's kind of a more of a poetic term of the entire time. It's, you can have obstruction of justice in case of, like, justice is in the process, the pursuit of truth, and if you stop that pursuit of truth, you're obstructing justice. So yes. you can't obstruct an illegal investigation into a fake narrative. No, but no one did. The investigation wasn't illegal. The narrative wasn't fake. There were and are innumerable examples of both the Russians interfering in our election, the Trump campaign being in constant contact with members of the Russian oligarchy, and the IRA, the Internet Research Agency, constantly playing footsie with him. Paul Manafort's connections are enough to point that line. The fact that they manipulated the RNC platform, there's plenty there to make just even if you find out it didn't turn out to be true, there's plenty there for the investigation. Most of it did turn out to be true. And a lot of the stuff that they couldn't confirm is true largely was because the people who were guilty of it either were successful in covering their tracks, circled the wagons, or used executive privilege, or, quite frankly, the AG just said you can't go there. I mean, it's not hard to figure out. That's the defense. Trump didn't delete emails, destroy mobile devices and computer services. Yeah, he did. I mean, I guess you're talking about but Hillary. Right, okay. When you leave the State Department, you destroy all the devices you used because they're still hackable and there's stuff in the chips. So everybody destroys their stuff. They all bleach bit their stuff after the fact. Yeah, easily to bot. Okay, good to know. Well, then bye. I can do that in here. Yeah. So that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah, so Trump is a fraud, the Republicans are idiots, and the Democrats are considered the bad guys. The Dems are the ones trying to clean up this mess. This is true, right? Was the full Mueller report ever produced? There were redacted sections. No. So there weren't. So I thank you, Angie. I appreciate that. Yeah. I got it. The more Trump hurts America, the more rewards he gets from Putin and Kim Jong-un when he leaves office. Exactly right. I mean, they're going to break ground on Trump Tower, Moscow is a go. Let's just be honest. But Trump won't be the one benefiting from it. It'll be Don Jr. and the rest of his family, kind of. But they'll be kept on a short leash as well. John, I'm curious how you feel about this part, but I don't know how you get in bed with those folks knowing that they just murder people when they're done.
I have no idea how any of them sleep at night.
It must be terrifying. Because I know it's super obvious that Manafort, the reason that he is, he's clamming up and not saying anything isn't because he's promised a pardon, isn't because Trump is backing him. It is honestly strictly for the purpose of protecting his family.
Yep.
As many problems as he has with his daughters and possibly his wife, that's who's in danger. Because the Russians won't, in that circumstance, they won't kill you. They'll kill your family and leave you alive.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the Trump playbook. You go after their families. I mean, he knows.
He even said that about terrorists. Like, you just got to blow them up too. Make it hurt or whatever. And you're like, dude, you don't.
And he said that on Morning Joe.
And again, it's one of those things like, pause for a second as a human being and go, if there was another country attacking your country, even if your country had attacked them first, even if you went out of your way, like we're at Bush administration years, Iraq, and we were at war with Iraq, and they were a much bigger force. They were, they had the military that say, oh, I don't know, Iran has, and they came and killed a bunch of Texans, just straight bombed or sent drone strikes in or whatever. You think there's a single Texan that if they had run out of ammo, wouldn't strap themselves with bombs and consider themselves a patriot and a hero for being a suicide bomber? I mean, the idea that we don't like suicide bombers in our culture is an absurdity. I mean, look at the end of Independence Day. Randy Quaid's entire character arc is based on the idea that he ultimately becomes a suicide bomber. He's a kamikaze pilot in the end. You know, he even yells "I'm back" when he flies into the into the thing before he dies. The butch Marine in Aliens, who with the sort of nerdy ROTC guy, when they blow themselves up in the air vent to stop the aliens and kill themselves rather than be eaten. Like it's all over the place. So the idea that it's that we're some sort of tacitly against it in theory is even ridiculous. But also not understanding that that's where the old idea that drone strikes create terrorists, that the attacks, you have to mitigate your foreign policy, and you certainly, when you have to do them, you try to keep the civilian damage to zero. Yeah. So that's that's nuts. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go, Johnny, because I know you're I appreciate you sticking around and being part of this. I adore you.
Not at all. Yeah, my wife's out of town, so I figured I'd hang a little longer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. We missed you thoroughly while you were gone, and we love you dearly. I'm just saying. And we will, next week I'm in San Francisco. Be a little, I think it'll be slightly less crazed.
Let's hope.
Yeah. So, it just like this week alone, but also just in my own travel stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll be a little bit more normalized or whatever. This week's going to be a little mildly nuts this week because I got to be in LA Tuesday. I got after Masons, I go to the Jam, and we're having Wayne's World night. So I'm singing "Hot and Bothered" by Cinderella from the Wayne's World 2 soundtrack, and playing the Rob Lowe part in a couple of sketches. I think it's because I'm a decent-looking fellow with brown hair and I speak Chinese. I think that might be entirely why. I'm not that good-looking, but I can do. I'm the comedy version of that, so it'll work.
You know Rob Lowe.
Huh? No, that's true. Technically speaking, yes. I do not have a videotape like that in my past.
No.
Mm-mm. I only met him once. Nice guy. Worked with him on a show. But anyways, so I love you guys, and chat room, I love you guys. We're gonna have a this Wednesday. I'm gonna do a Patreon stream, so join me. We got a new patron who was in here, and I saw it blaze by, and I don't want to. All I have to do is open my phone, and Rudy Giuliani is yelling at me. It's just, this is horrifying. So thank you to Lee and Pamela and Billy and all you guys. But we also have a, let's see. So Kimberly just joined, and Richard. Thank you guys so much for becoming new patrons. That just happened. And Beverly Brown. We got a bunch, Christy and Patrick and Kate and Laura and Sarah and all the people who are regulars on here. I appreciate you guys so much. It is helping immensely. It is only because of you that we had all these options to hook up this weekend when the station had been struck by lightning. That's it.
True.
That's true. Like, you guys kept us on the air, and I love you for it, and I appreciate it. I am now going to go pass out until showtime because I have 2 shows
have a great
tonight.
show tonight, man.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, the other one can just suck. Is that what you're saying? I've got 2. So.
Oh, you've got 2 shows? Yeah, I have 1 just okay.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, just let me off the hook. Don't, man, go easy
Don't
on
knock
the
yourself
second
out. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I do have to say that I love doing my show my way, and I love how being physically active and kind of, I'm literally, I can say without a doubt, the most physical comic working today. And it's not that much to be proud of, because the majority of people working today are honest to God shoegazers.
Sure.
They literally just all they do is walk or stand. There is nothing else going on at all. And I'm proud of that. But I also kind of, sometimes I look on it with envy on days when I've been long. I'm like, taking that Cosby sitting in a chair thing might have been a good move. It might be a good move when I'm in my, when I'm about 160. But I will continue as long as I am able, which will be for another, at least 9 decades. 9 decades, being a 6 to 8 months. Shame on you.
At least.
To be a maniac on stage. Because I have to say, because there's so many comics that don't do anything, people, like, you can see them come to life, the audiences, when you move. When you do stuff, when you, like, have that moment, where you're like, where I fall down on stage to accent a point, or I run like a dinosaur, or like a gorilla, or whatever. Like, all those things, like, you can see them go, oh, it's finally a show. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so I love that, and I've started putting more of those in. And Liberty, on a side note, download Discord, cool. I will be putting the links in each of those things on the Patreon. So you'll get a link soon for the separate Patreon Discord for the folks that are in their tiers or whatever. So you guys are awesome. I love you guys so much. Thanks again. And I'm sorry I didn't see the super chats till later. You guys are fantastic. Billy, Hal Vickery, the professor, Ginger, thank you so much, and Gene, who's I think new to our group, or at least new to visibility. So thank you so much, and James, God bless you guys, and thanks to all of our patrons for making this happen. And I just poked myself in the eye. That's how tired I am. It's terrible. I'm gonna pass out right. I'm just gonna go to sleep right here. I'm gonna just sleep cam. At this point, I'll just leave it.
That'd be adorable.
Yeah. I've always wanted footage of myself, time-lapse photography of me sleeping. Am I the only person who wants that?
I think you can make it happen.
Oh, it's not hard now, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, it's a little creepy, but I've always been like, what do I look like sleeping? It's just curious.
You could look like one of those
look like Babe Ruth.
Paranormal Activity home videos where you just stand up and stare at yourself in bed.
Oh my God! Like that's how you find out your house is haunted and that you are a sleepwalking demon. You're just like, yeah, just watch this. And like 2 seconds in, all you do is stand next to the bed, eyes wide.
That's so funny. It looks like there's 2 of me.
Yeah, right.
There's 2 of me.
What's Johnny Million doing here?
Find out in a hotel in
the
San Diego.
Ceiling. No. How did you walk like that and we're face to face and why is he breathing this weird black smoke into my mouth? Suddenly I come back and I wash the blood off my hands and get back into bed, never remembering what happened. That's why I haven't done it so far. It's the only reason I haven't done it. What have you found out? Anyways, I love you dearly, brother. I will see you again. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat room. We'll see you guys soon. We will we'll have an awesome chat, and yeah. And if I'm coming to do stand, and we're gonna do a meetup today with Carl and everybody. Carl, we're having dinner before the show at 5:30 for the show. So get in touch with Carl via Twitter and whatnot if you're around the area. We're all gonna have dinner before the shows tonight, and then next week. Anna and Kathy and some other folks are coordinating a similar thing where we're all going to have a Patreon dinner in San Francisco. So I'm really excited about that. I'm hoping we can do it on Friday so I'm not radio, dinner, 2 shows, like running from 7 a.m. till midnight, full voice. As it stands, I need I'm going to have 2 days of not talking soon where I literally don't speak for 2 days straight so that I can let my throat heal. Because this has been a lot. But you guys are wonderful. I will see you guys soon. Take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. Thank you, Can't Stop Lying, for all your support and helping us grow these numbers. Especially thank you to Carl and Ginger and Julie for moderating for us as well. And thanks to everybody on the Twitch stuff that's come up, who are just popping over to say hi. You guys are great. This is just, I'm so glad we're growing a community here. Johnny. Next week, if they have the same problem, or maybe even if they don't, I might bring you in via Skype so we can have a picture. I don't know if you have Skype,
okay,
so we'll work that out somehow. There's a couple of other options that I have. I'm going to look at it this week so we can have you on camera with me since you're going to be remote anyways. It works.
Right on.
Yeah, man. You're wonderful. Take care, everybody. We'll see you. The chat has stopped moving a long time ago, so I hope nothing has gone south on there. Please be okay.
Well,
Please, everybody. There you go. Okay, yeah, so everybody's in there. Good, okay. So you guys are wonderful. Yeah, have some good, for Unclear saying, think I'll go have some impeachment cobbler. Yeah, it's going to, that's what we're all having. Yes, and Ginger, thanks for coming to the jam on my birthday. I turned 50 at midnight jamming at the whiskey. It was a dream come true. So good. And Johnny, you have to come out to LA and jam with us at the jam. Like, it has to happen. You're wonderful.
I will be there, I promise.
Yes. Now I'm going to go pass out. You're lovely.
Okay.
I'll talk to you later. Peace.
Later.
Bye, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
See you later. Cheers.